Welcome to yet another FPL livestream. Now, so much has happened over the past few days. It's actually incredible. And thank you to everyone who's actually tuning in right now. I really appreciate it. And seriously, this week has just been crazy. I mean, when have you ever heard of pretty much schedules, or should I say fixtures being rescheduled pretty much just before a deadline? And then you have Pep with all of his nonsense, which I'm going to be talking about very shortly. It's just been an absolute mess. And I've always tried to keep my options open. That was always the plan. But initially, I was saying if I can, I will try to save my free hit because I had 7 players going into Game Week 18, and I've discussed this in all my previous videos. And it was looking decent, and I could save the free hit for maybe Game Week 29 or maybe another double game week. And it's just, my bad for that. I actually don't even understand this really, to be honest. I mean, Grealish and Martinez obviously now don't have a fixture. And then you look at Calvert-Lewin and he gets an injury out of nowhere for 2 weeks. So it's an absolute mess, seriously. And I went from pretty much saving my free hit to playing it. And it's already activated, as you can see here. And I made a few changes from the kind of updated wildcard, or shall I say free hit draft that I made yesterday. And thank you to everyone who tuned in for that. I really appreciate it. And I'll go over some of your questions now for all of you who are waiting right now, before talking about the Cancelo news, which a lot of you are going to be asking me about, I'm sure, and it's something that I have to decide myself, but I do kind of have an answer for that, although obviously nothing is concrete with Pep Guardiola. Welcome at all, thank you for joining in. You're pretty much always one of the first to be on the stream, really appreciate it. Yeah, me too. This game week could be very stressful. It could be one of those game weeks that kind of makes or breaks, maybe not your season, but at least, for the next month or so, it could really be really crucial. Because those who maybe save the free hit and then it's kind of a low scoring week, they're going to be buzzing, but we'll have to wait and see. Hi Dylan, updates on Cancelo, whether he will start against Brighton. I'm going to be talking about this, and if I'm being honest, I do think he will start, but I couldn't tell you for sure. And I'm going to be talking about Pep Guardiola's comments and kind of breaking it down. I do think he will start, but there's no guarantee with Pep, never ever. So just, if you want to go with the safe option, I think Stones and Diaz will be the one. But then again, if Cancelo does start, and obviously you went for Diaz, and then Cancelo gets some attacking returns, you're going to be kicking yourself, and you probably want to slap Pep Guardiola's head. But yeah, NG19, hi mate, welcome. Thank you for joining the stream. Mickey asks, who do you have on the bench? So I'll be talking about my team shortly, but I've only made a few changes, and I'll be discussing the changes I made from the free hit. But Smith Rowe, Yedlin, and Brewster. And of course, some of you look at that and think, well, they can get some points on your bench, but I would rather have the points on my bench than having no points at all. So let's say, for example, Cancelo doesn't play, and I pretty much maybe have Mitchell or someone who doesn't even play at all just on my bench, and then they come on and you get 0, 1 or 2 points. So it is a bit risky. Maybe some of you don't like that sort of approach, and I completely understand that. You obviously want all your money and the points going into your first team where it counts. But still, I like this bench. Obviously, Brewster's pretty useless, but he's third sub. And Smith Rowe and Yedlin could be very good if needed. But that is my bench at the moment. I'll be talking about all of that. Philip, what's up again? Thank you for joining in, and hopefully you are good. Welcome, Dylan, for joining. Thank you so much. Stone's getting replaced in 10 days. Oh, I don't know about that. I'm going in this game week with 5 players: Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno, Kane, Wilson, Diaz. What do you make of it? Should I free hit or wildcard? I think always with these kind of should I free hit questions, not only does it depend on the quantity of players you have, but also the quality. And looking at your players there, you've got Kevin De Bruyne and Bruno, who are 2 of the best assets this week, and Kane, that's another one. You got Diaz as well, City cover, and Wilson. You could arguably save it, but if you do have some free transfers, I would recommend maybe getting 1 or 2 more players, maybe like Saka or someone like that, if you can. But maybe you have plans for Game Week 19 and the bench boost, so obviously it's not a kind of like yes or no answer. I think you could hold it, and you could hold both chips, to be honest, but it ultimately depends how you're set up for Game Week 19. If you're happy with how you're set up for Game Week 19, then yeah, 1 or 2 free transfers, kind of, navigating both game weeks will be fine, and you can save the wild card for Game Week 26 onwards, and you could save the free hit for another double or blank game week. And I'm going to talk briefly about my team and the changes I made. So I didn't pull a rabbit under the hat or anything like that. I already discussed all of this in my last video. So I said, instead of De Gea, you could go for Lloris, and I said stuff like that. And pretty much, if you look at the defence, it's the exact same. I've got Wan-Bissaka instead of Dyer, and I've got Lloris instead of De Gea, but pretty much it's the same thing. 1 Spurs defender, 1 United defender. The midfield's the exact same. Obviously, I won't be having Saka or Smith Rowe starting, I think. But they could maybe come on and do the business for me. You never know. And Kane and Wilson are still the same. And a lot of you have kind of mixed feelings towards Wilson, which is completely understandable. He's a good player, good finisher, but he plays in a team with such poor attacking stats and that are so poor. And I don't know, I mean, I could see a 0-0 in this game, but I mean, I can't really go up to Lacazette or Martial. And yeah, I mean, I think Wilson for his price is still probably one of the better options. Another thing I could do is maybe just play Smith Rowe instead, or get Saka by downgrading Wilson, or maybe get Neto and I could play 4-5-1. That is an option and something I have considered, but I'm just not too sure. And to be honest, this is something that not many people have talked about and maybe doesn't matter too much. But from the games this guy has started, I believe he has only blanked once away from home, and that was against Southampton when he got that injury, and that was obviously the week I brought him in, so hopefully not more bad luck there. But I remember owning this guy when he got 12 points against Palace, and obviously I was buzzing then. It was a great haul, and something like that would be amazing in this game week. But then again, a lot of people will be going Wilson. His price did rise today actually. But yeah, pretty much Lloris in for De Gea, Wan-Bissaka in for Dyer, Smith Rowe in for Saka. The rest is the exact same. I mean, technically Yedlin in for Mitchell, but that's because I have enough money. And a lot of you have been talking about, oh, I don't really have the budget you do. And that's why you always have to try find alternatives, and maybe Tierney to Holding or something like that. You can't obviously get this team without the money. So it is what it is. Some people have more money than me, and they could literally have the exact same as me, but also have Lacazette in for Wilson, which is just insane. But it is what it is. I mean, you can't really stress too much about it. Now, before I go to your comments once again and read all of them out as I usually do, I just want to talk about Guardiola. This guy is, oh my God, this guy is such a headache, seriously. He says about Cancelo, so we'll read this quite quickly. He said, Cancelo played last season in the middle. He was confused a little at the beginning. He expected something we couldn't offer him. He's a nice guy with a great heart, great physicality, and could play a day after a game. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But then you go to this part of his press conference, and thank you to John for obviously forwarding me this. Sam Lee says, or he reports what Guardiola says, Cancelo struggled with the new club, new ideas, but now he helps us to do something we need. He was tired against Birmingham. That's why he played 45 minutes. Hopefully he will be available for tomorrow. What he gives us as a team is so important honestly. So a lot of people have taken that and they've kind of just been flabbergasted and think, you know, you're doing this 2 hours before the deadline, mate. Come on. I brought in Cancelo already, or I made a free hit and Cancelo was a big part of my plans. And now maybe I have to go to Diaz or to Stones, or maybe go away from double City defence. I mean, this guy is a complete headache, but from what he has said, I do think it highlights Cancelo's importance, and I do think he is going to start. Could I guarantee you that 100%? No, I definitely couldn't, especially with Pep involved. But Cancelo does offer them something different offensively, that is for sure. So I do think he will start, and maybe in one of the double game week games he will be benched if he doesn't get benched in game week 18. But Cancelo is someone you want to have long term because of the attacking threat. He can get bonus points and obviously the clean sheets for Manchester City. He's going to play most games, but from time to time he will be rested. I mean, there's a lot of players in that City squad that can come and fill in, but that's pretty much, what I think. I do think Cancelo's going to start, but if you're just not sure and you don't want to take any chances, just go for Diaz and Stones, but you may regret it because Cancelo has that attacking threat, which the other two obviously don't have as much. And I'll go through all your questions. Thank you everyone for joining in. Let's see. Why are people worrying about free hits so much when you can just copy Scout Selection 11? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're not really accustomed to the FPL community, but it's kind of a known thing that if the scout kind of recommends someone, you kind of try to go the other way because he's the biggest jinxer, or they are the biggest jinxers that you can think of. I mean, just look at the other week with Salah. They're talking about, oh, he's only blanked once away from home all season, and he blanks 2 more times away from home after that comment. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not really too sure about the scout. My opponent has free hit. Can I beat him with 8 players? Depends on the players you have and also the players he has, to be honest. It's about the quality, not only the quantity. But if you have some of the main players like Kane, Son, Bruno, De Bruyne, you could beat him, yeah. But maybe you are at a disadvantage, of course. The team. So your free hit team, Philip. Leno, Maguire, Cancelo, Tierney, Son, Bruno, KDB, Rashford, Saka, Kane, Wilson. Thoughts? Any changes? There's nothing really that strikes out as you have to change it. I will just say be a bit careful about double Arsenal defence. And I know we've been good recently, but we haven't kept a clean sheet at home this season in the Premier League. So going for Leno and Tierney is a bit... If you can, try to go to Lloris. I think he would be a better option. But Tierney, I wouldn't really kind of move him to a Spurs defender because Dyer is really a boring choice. Tierney's ceiling is higher. Reguilon might not even play. And even then, his attacking output is really overstated at the moment because he's not really delivering. Son or Rashford, Henry asks. That's a tough one. Okay, so overall, I think Son's the better pick, but Rashford hasn't blanked away from home. He has delivered in both games he has played in Turf Moor. And I don't know, I just think for this game week, maybe Rashford. But overall, it's definitely Son. I don't know, I just think Rashford is going to do well. That's why I've gone for him. I know a lot of people have got a very similar team to me, but they had to sacrifice Rashford in order to get Lacazette up front, which they really wanted, which is fair enough. But just back Rashford. I got a gut feeling. Maybe it won't turn out right, but yeah, I think Rashford is better for this game week. And if you have Kane already, and you've got Rashford and Bruno, I think you're fine. And obviously some City cover along the way. When will Jimenez and Jesus be back? Well, Jesus should be back pretty much in this game, and Aguero's not going to play for the next 8 or 9 days. That's something else that Pep Guardiola talked about in his press conference. So Jesus could play up front, but then again, they could just play De Bruyne as a false 9. Sometimes they play Sterling as a false 9 or Ferran Torres, but I do believe Ferran Torres is unavailable at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see. As for Raul Jimenez, I don't know, I mean, he had a fractured skull. I mean, I still think he's going to be out for some time. Obviously, he's making progress, and obviously I wish him all the best, but I'm just not too sure. And either way, with how Wolves are, the only kind of attacker I'd consider is Neto, probably. Let me try and get up to these comments. Yeah, Richarlison out or in, Chandler asks. I don't think he should be in, especially on a free hit. It's up to you, though. It's just that Wolves have, one of the best defences at home anyway. They're the third best, if you want to be precise. But yeah, Richarlison, I'm just not sure. Everton, if they had Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison and all these players who have come back, then yeah, I would consider him. But I'd still probably go for Calvert-Lewin. But yeah, I wouldn't go for Richarlison. He's very inconsistent. He could do very well for you. He could be a great differential, but personally I would say no. So Dylan asks, or he puts his team, Darlow, Tierney, Stones, Diaz, Smith Rowe, KDB, Neto, Bruno, Son, Kane, Laka. Thoughts? That's a really good team. Obviously with your keeper, there's a few question marks. I think Darlow will start, but again, Steve Bruce, he's basically saying, we've got 2 really good keepers, and hopefully I picked the right one because they're both really good. And he kind of made it seem like a 50-50 decision. And to be honest, with how Darlow has played this season, he has to be number 1. Despite how good Dubravka has been over the past few years, I just think Darlow should start. But that's a good team overall. You've got double City defence. Smith Rowe's an interesting one. He could do really well for you. Yeah, I like that team. Neto's a very good differential, I think. And you got most of the key hitters, or big hitters, should I say. No Son. Honestly, you do have Son, my bad. You don't have Rashford. That maybe could be something that could cost you a little bit, I guess. But really nitpicking, it's a good team. KDB, Rashford and Son, and I am captaining Son. I mean, if you don't have Bruno, that's going to be a big worry, especially if he has Bruno. But that's a good team. I mean, you've got some good players anyway. I'm not sure about the rest. If you have players like Mitchell, yeah, I'm not sure. Because players like Mitchell, Kilman, Brewster, all these players, they're not really, they're not going to get you too many points, most likely anyway. But we'll have to wait and see. Surprised to see you going with 4 defenders. Yeah, I mean, the kind of logic behind that, and I've discussed this in my free hit video, is just that, I mean, it's really Wan-Bissaka against Saka or Smith Rowe or something like that it would be. And I don't know, United have kept clean sheets every single time at Turf Moor pretty much, or they have a good record there. But the problem with United, I've already discussed this, they've got no clean sheets away from home this season. They score a lot of goals, but they concede a lot. But I don't know, I just think United will keep a clean sheet. And Wan-Bissaka's more likely to get 6 points than maybe Saka and Smith Rowe are. But maybe I'm wrong, and Smith Rowe and Saka have been instrumental in Arsenal's kind of resurgence. So yeah, maybe it's a bit of a risk. Maybe I'm making the wrong decision. It's just, as an Arsenal fan, I tend to be wary about our team. So even if we go on these kind of runs, I kind of try to, steer away from the hype. But I've got Tierney in there. But apart from that, only Smith Rowe on my bench at the moment. Hi Dylan, free hit or wildcard for the long term? Yeah, terrific tech. I mean, I would love to give you pretty much an amazing answer that's spot on and whatever. But really, I mean, I have to keep on saying it. It's team dependent. Because if your team is set up well for Game Week 19 and for Game Week 18, there's no need to wildcard, possibly no need to free hit. But if you're kind of worried about Game Week 19 and you don't have a good balance between both weeks, then maybe you could wildcard. But if you're looking good for 19 and not for 18, you could free hit. But this is why I always say to people, just don't get so wrapped up in these blanks and doubles. Also think about the future going forward, because I mean, I've discussed this with Villa players, for example, although now they're kind of not really a guarantee with what's happened to them. But players like, or should I say, players like Grealish and Calvert-Lewin, long term have really good fixtures, and you'd probably want to get them back in when they're fit and available and all of that. So you also have to think about game weeks 20 onwards. I mean, don't just think about game weeks 18, 19. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to tell me your team, and then I could maybe give you a more informed opinion. But it really depends on your team. Which one out of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Neto, Wilson? Asks Marco. That's a difficult one. I'd probably go for Neto. Actually, I'm not sure. Oh my god. I mean, they're all really good. They're all really similar. I think the highest ceiling is Wilson or Neto, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka is possibly the most likely to get 6 points. I would probably go for Wilson, but I mean, I don't know. I just don't know about Newcastle. I like Wilson. I don't like Newcastle. Did you tune into Mesut Ozil's Q&A? Not really. I mean, I saw it afterwards. Yeah, I mean, agreed with some of the things he said, disagreed with some of them, but I mean, that's Ozil pretty much, always dividing opinion. Why are you going with 4 defenders? Isn't 3 the better choice? Not necessarily, because, like I said, I mean, if I want to, go for Saka or Smith Rowe, I'm not too sure if they're gonna, get 6 points or more. With Wan-Bissaka, I think I'm, more confident in him doing that. Maybe I'm making a mistake, but maybe I'm making the right decision. Obviously, I understand why people would say that, but I mean, double City defense, I think is the best thing you can do this week. Of course, if you want to go different, players like Gundogan, Foden, even Jesus, you could go for. But yeah, I like this team. I don't know. I like the balance. I'm covering United, City, Arsenal, and Spurs in defence. In attack, I'm covering pretty much all of them. And if need be, Smith Rowe comes in and he could be very good. And Yedlin too. So I just really like this squad. I don't know. I can obviously understand the reservations, and I've been having the same doubts, about having 4 defenders, about having Wilson. Apart from that, most of it is nailed. I want a Spurs defender. I want 1 at least City defender. But having 2 obviously gives me a bit more confidence. Having Tierney, happy with that. Having Bruno and Rashford, Son, really happy with that. Kane as well. But Wilson, there's a question mark over him. But I don't know. I just feel like if I don't go for Wilson, he's going to basically go mad, go ballistic and get a lot of points. And if I do go for him, maybe you're blank, but whatever. It is what it is. And as for the defence, I really like it. Like I said, I'm covering most of the big teams and the most likely to keep clean sheets, but we'll have to wait and see. Mohammed asks, Kane as a captain, what do you think? I think he's a good captaincy option this week. I just think with Spurs, there's always the kind of question mark about if they go 1 or 2 up, will they kind of keep on going? Against Leeds, they could have scored more goals, to be fair. Bergwijn missed some chances and Son could have gotten another assist. But I'm not too sure. I mean, I think Kane's ceiling might be a bit lower. I know that sounds weird with Fulham compared to maybe Bruno or De Bruyne. There's no right or wrong captaincy. I think this week you could captain Son, Kane, Bruno or De Bruyne. I wouldn't really look elsewhere. If you want to go really differential, you could go for Lacazette or Sterling. They're probably a bit more risky. I think, yeah, Kane's a great captaincy option. I would really be surprised if he blanked, but you never know. But I do think Kane will do well. Will he score more than 2 or will he score more than 1? Not too sure, but I do think he'll score at least 1 goal. But yeah, I think he's a good captaincy option. I've got the same team except that I have Saka in for Stones. That's fair enough. I mean, arguably I could do Saka in for Wan-Bissaka and basically downgrade Wan-Bissaka to maybe a Luke Shaw or Lindelof. I could do that. I'm just not too sure, about Saka basically hauling 4 games in a row. But we'll have to wait and see. Thank you, Mohammed, for your comment. Really appreciate it. Hi, Dylan. Please rate my squad. Let's see. Did you put... Oh, yeah. Stefan, Diaz, Mitchell, Kilman, Pieces. I'm trying to think of that. Is De Bruyne, Fernandes, Son, Wilson, Kane. That's a good team. Obviously, Stefan, I don't think he's going to start. And Diaz, yeah, is very good. Mitchell and Kilman, not too sure about them. But I'm assuming these are, your kind of normal players, not your free hit team. But your midfield looks good. Your attack looks good. You could save the free hit, to be honest. But Mitchell and Kilman, I wouldn't really expect much. And Stefan is probably not going to play. Edison is back and ready. Saka to Neto, Son to Rashford, Martial to Laka. Yeah, those are all good moves. But then again, I don't know. I mean, all the players that you're taking out are also good. So it's really difficult. Either way, you should do well with any of those players. Edison is fit. Will probably play right. Yep, FPL book, I think so. I would be very surprised if Stefan plays yet again. But yeah, Edison is fit. Gundogan or Sterling? I think I would probably go for Gundogan. I know that sounds a bit weird. Just because of the amount of money it gives you in other areas. So you could still have Son, Rashford, Bruno, De Bruyne, Kane, etc. Lacazette. With Sterling, you're obviously taking one of those premium spots away. But having De Bruyne and Sterling is a really good differential. So for those of you who are doing it and it pays off, I mean, you're really going to be laughing, to be honest. Free hit team, this is what Matt Wong says. Lloris, Wan-Bissaka, Cancelo, Tierney, Diaz, Shaw, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Son, Lacazette, Kane. Any comments? Yeah, that's a good team. I mean, I'm trying to find the fault with it, technically. Maybe double United defence. I mean, I already talked about their record at Turf Moor, especially defensively, which is very good. Not too sure about the double United defence, but the rest of it, really, really good. Really like that team. Any Arsenal fans here? Hopefully we get 4 in a row. Yeah, hopefully, Philip, but I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Palace is a bit of a bogey team of ours recently. To be fair, Brighton were as well, and we did beat them, but yeah, just never get too carried away with Arsenal. Why Bruno as captain instead of KDB? That's a very good question. There's no right or wrong captaincy option, I think, but it's just with Bruno, the most consistent FPL player at the moment, the most points since he has joined the Premier League, the most goals from any midfielder, including from open play. And if you look at De Bruyne, he has blanked a lot of times this year, and I'm not saying he's going to blank for sure, but I don't know, with De Bruyne, I don't know, there's a few question marks around him. I think he's going to do really well against Brighton, but I'm just more confident that Bruno's going to not blank. Let's put it that way. So Bruno's kind of the safer option in a way, but I completely understand it. I mean, Brighton struggle from set pieces and from crosses. De Bruyne is obviously great at both. And yeah, I mean, last season, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he got a double-digit haul against Brighton. His overall record against them isn't great, but last year he got a goal and an assist. And I think one of his assists got stolen or something like that. I can't remember properly. But yeah, De Bruyne's a great captaincy option this week. I'm not saying go for Bruno instead. It's just in my case, I'm a bit more confident in Bruno. Hopefully you understand that logic. But yeah, and also he averages like 10 points per game away from home. Bruno's insane. He's only blanked once. Unfortunately, it was when I captained him. Hopefully I don't jinx him this time, but you never know, really. You never know. Let's see. Who should I go for, Martial or Lacazette? Very good question. If you already have Rashford and Bruno, I would go for Lacazette. But I don't know. Martial has a really good record against Burnley. That's what would probably tempt me a bit towards him. But Lacazette, I don't know. There's something about Lacazette, his form and the fixture, Arsenal's form. Maybe that is very tempting. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I would probably go for Lacazette. But Martial is a very, very good option. Shaw, Bailly or Lindelof? Bailly is the most likely not to play. Shaw and Lindelof have been cleared to play, or at least available to be in contention to start. I would probably go for Lindelof. I think he's a bit more likely to start because Shaw could be rotating with Tellers, but yeah, it's a difficult one. Can I play Fabio Silva? Yeah, I mean, you can play him, of course. I mean, on a free hit, I would not do it, but it's up to you. But if it's just your normal team, then yeah, why not? But no, I would not get him on a free hit. Saka versus Smith Rowe. Yeah, I think Saka's worth the upgrade, Narcy, because if you look at it, every single attacking stat, apart from maybe creativity, Saka trumps Smith Rowe in. I think he is worth the upgrade. And if you're looking to start one of them, then I would definitely go for Saka. In my case, because of money, because I want a United defender and an Arsenal defender, 2 City, and the Spurs goalkeeper, as well as my midfield and attack, that's why I went with Smith Rowe. But Saka is definitely the better option to start. But you never know. Would you spread out the defence, i.e. one Man U, Tottenham, Arsenal and City, or would you double up on anyone? It would probably be City. If I want all full covered, double City, I would have to play 4-4-2, no Wilson. Yeah, I think covering most of them is the best. And with Arsenal, you want to go for Tierney if possible. If not, Holding's a very good one. He can get bonus points as he's done in the last 2 games. As for City, they're the team to double up on if anyone. Maybe even Spurs, but then again, you're going to obviously be sacrificing one of Son or Kane, which you might not want to do. So I think City, double defence if you want to double up on any defence. And then, yeah, 1 United max, 1 Arsenal max if possible. And, 1 or 2 Spurs, I would say. Anthony Martial has scored in all of his games at Turf Moor, exactly. But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Martial. He's a very good record against Burnley at that stadium. And he's a very streaky player, very inconsistent. I do think he's going to do well. But then there's the question mark. Will Cavani start over him? I don't think so, but there is the possibility. So you've got to take that into account as well. I think Lacazette is obviously more assured of a start. And but both great differentials, to be honest. I just rather have Rashford and Bruno in my case and maybe a United defender. But yeah, Martial, don't write him out. I think he could do very well. What about Tosun? He scored in the FA Cup. Not for me. He could maybe get a goal or something, but I just think his ceiling is really low. Maybe over someone like Wilson. Fair enough, you could do that. But overall, I don't know. I don't see the appeal of Tosun, in my opinion. I might be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But from that game, Wolves versus Everton, the only player I would be interested in, or players, are Saiss and Neto. Apart from that, I'm just not interested in anyone. Saka or Neto? You know what? I actually would prefer Neto, I think, but that's a tough one. Yeah, both could do very well. You can't go wrong with either, really. I mean, they're both good options, and we'll have to wait and see. Hello, I've currently got 5 players playing. Neto, Keane, Son, Kane, Cancelo. Shall I free hit? I mean, you don't have Bruno. You don't have KDB. I probably would. Yeah, I probably would free hit. And only one seat defender, and Cancelo may not start. Yeah, I probably would free hit, but then again, it's up to you. Maybe saving it for later down the line, like Game Week 29, will be more beneficial. But if it were me, I would do it. But it's up to you ultimately. Good luck with your final decision. I got 7 players playing. KDB, Bruno, Son, Kane, Diaz, Anguissa, and Mitchell. Would you free hit? Ooh, that's a tough one. So you've got KDB, Bruno, Son, Kane. That's 4 of the main guys. Then you've got Diaz. Yeah, that's another good one. Anguissa and Mitchell, I mean, you're not really going to be expecting too many points there. If you could do one of 2 free transfers to maybe get 8 or 9 on a better quality, so maybe someone like Saka, then I would hold the free hit. Otherwise, I would probably consider it. But yeah, I mean, 7's still a good number. It's about the quality. You have 5 good players. So pretty much you maybe could save it, to be honest. Maybe for a double game week as well if you want to be aggressive with it. How about Serge Aurier? Not for me. I think if you want a Spurs defender, go for Dyer. I know he sounds boring, but to be honest, he's got one of the biggest threats of any Spurs defender. And if not Lloris, I think they're the 2 most nailed. You could go for Alderweireld as well, but I mean, I just think Lloris or Dyer would be your best bets. You could go for Davis, but then there's Reguilon who could start or at least share minutes. Mourinho does love to bring on one of those left backs on when they want to pretty much, hold on to a lead or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, Aurier is a decent option. I'm not saying he's bad, but I just think then he might not even start. I mean, Doherty might, I think he might be banned actually still for that stupid red card he got the other day. But yeah, I don't know about Sergio Aurier. I would prefer Dyer or Lloris in my opinion. My 8 players are Dyer, Diaz, KDB, Neto, Rashford, Son, Martial, Areola. I don't keep players like Mitchell and Kilman. Yeah, I mean, yeah, most of them are good. I mean, Areola probably not going to do well. I'd be surprised if he does, but the rest are looking pretty good to be honest. Lewis says, thoughts on my free hit team: De Gea, Stones, Cancelo, Tierney, Dyer, Saka, Rashford, Son, Bruno, KDB captain, and Kane. I wonder who your vice captain is, but that is looking pretty good to be honest. And yeah, I do like that team. And hopefully you have 1 or 2 maybe bench options potentially in case that someone like Cancelo doesn't play. But you should be fine. I think that's a good team. Thank you, Ismail, for your comment. Marco, no starting Arsenal attacker to try and cover all defences, looking to maybe get Smith Rowe and not Saka, but would hate not starting him. Do you think more defenders is the way? Not necessarily. It's just in my case, I'm backing, United clean sheet, potentially City and Arsenal, or at least I think with Arsenal, Tierney's the most exciting pick because of the clean sheet potential and the attacking returns. And over the last 3 game weeks, he is the highest scoring FPL player alongside Bruno Fernandes with 28 points. With Arsenal attack, I mean, you raise a good point. Maybe I'm missing that. Aubameyang is still an option. He's a great differential this week. Lacazette, Saka. I do have Smith Rowe to come in if needed, but I do understand your point. Maybe I could be going for an Arsenal attacker instead. But would I want one of them over De Bruyne? No. Son? No. Kane? No chance. Bruno? Forget it. Rashford? I probably would still prefer Rashford. So the way I look at it, not too sure. If I could do Wilson to Lacazette now, obviously without compromising elsewhere, I would. But otherwise, in terms of budget, in terms of the structure I have, which I'm happy with, I just don't really see the desperation to get an Arsenal attacker in. And Arsenal have struggled to Palace recently. I do think they will do well and they will win. But I'm just not sure. I mean, it won't be as easy as people think, at least I believe. Obviously, I wouldn't mind as an Arsenal fan. But from an FPL perspective, of course, it would be a bit gutting if Arsenal, let's say Lacazette scores a hat-trick and obviously I don't have him. Spurs face Fulham and Fulham have not lost a match in a long time. Do you back a United clean sheet more or a Spurs clean sheet? I back a Spurs clean sheet more for sure. Fulham might not have lost in a long time, but I don't know. They would have lost back when the Spurs versus Fulham game was originally, scheduled for. Yeah, Fulham have been decent. But then again, when they drew to Liverpool, which obviously looked very impressive at the time, but then you look at what Liverpool have done since then away from home, and also before that, obviously taking away the Palace result aside, Liverpool are pretty much, one of the bottom teams away from home. So not too surprised looking back on it. And Fulham, they might have improved defensively, but yeah, I still back Spurs to beat them by maybe 2 or 3 goals. And I would expect a clean sheet for Spurs. I'd be surprised if they don't. Christian says, thank you as always, Dylan. Decision with 3 is tough. Thank you for your comment. And yeah, man, it's really tough. Of course, there's always going to be alternatives people are going to pick out, and also captaincy. I mean, I've got Bruno as captain, and a lot of people would say, well, maybe De Bruyne or Kane or Son, and that's understandable. There's a lot of choices this week, and maybe looking back a few weeks ago, before obviously United got put into this game week and Spurs. Yeah, I mean, this game week was looking like you know what, I'll just take the 5 or 7 players I have and save my free hit for another time, but circumstances change so quickly. Alif says, I captained Sterling for this game week. Do you think it's a good idea? I'm just worried if he doesn't start. Yeah, there's no need to spam the chat. I will read your question. As for obviously what you asked, yeah, I mean, he's a good option, but there is a possibility he might not start. I do think he will, but I couldn't tell you. I'm not Pep Guardiola. And just have a good vice captain just in case. And if you're thinking of vice captaining De Bruyne, that is risky. I would try to captain someone from one team and then vice captain someone from another. You never know, a game could be cancelled or whatever. And if you have your captain and vice captain from the same team, yeah, you're kind of screwed. But yeah, like I said, no need to kind of, spam the chat. Who's on your bench? Yeah, so Blues FPL on my bench right now. I only made a few changes from my draft. Smith Rowe in for Saka, Yedlin in for Mitchell, and Brewster is still there. And I just got Steele, but it really doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, I really didn't change anything from my free hit team. I already discussed having Lloris, and he was my first choice. But yeah, I ended up going with Wan-Bissaka and Lloris. I just liked the fact that I had Saka, as a possibility in that free hit team. But I don't know, I wouldn't be comfortable with, benching Saka. But I also wouldn't be too confident in him starting for me, if you catch my drift. So this is the team I went with. And in order to do that, I went from Saka to Smith Rowe. And that kind of gave me money elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, I'm mainly focused obviously on the starting lineup. That's the most important thing. But I've got some very good cheap bench options in case things go wrong. But yeah, hopefully nothing goes wrong there. If you don't use your 2 free transfers and activate free hit, would you lose the 2 transfers? So Ricky, this is a question I've been asked a lot, and it's understandable. So basically, it doesn't matter if you have saved 1 or 2 free transfers. It doesn't matter if you've used all of them or if you've taken multiple hits. If you activate the free hit, it cancels everything. And then going into the following game week, your team reverts back to what it was, and you only have 1 free transfer. So it doesn't matter if you had 2 saved up or more or whatever, if you had 1, should I say. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. You're going to have 1 free transfer going into Game Week 19, regardless of how many free transfers you saved. Cancelo or Diaz, or neither, and get Gundogan and have Stones with size to start. I also have KDB in my free hit team. I would still go for Cancelo, but if you are just not sure about him, then go for Diaz. Or if not, just go for one City defender, maybe get Gundogan or Foden and do the changes that you said. But I would go for Cancelo, me personally. But it's up to you. And Dylan asks, 3 Arsenal players on free hit is worth a shot. It is, to be fair. I've only gone for 2, but 3 is definitely worth a shot. I'm just not too sure. I mean, I just like this team, and in terms of the Arsenal players that I discussed already, not too sure about displacing some of these key players for those Arsenal players. Mark O'Leary says, Ramsdale, Tierney or Leno Dyer? I would probably prefer Leno Dyer. I mean, Ramsdale is just... You never know, they maybe could do something today, but I would go for Leno Dyer. Obviously, not having Tierney, maybe not ideal, but yeah, Leno Dyer is a better combination. Will DCL play? He's not going to play, Kurt. He's injured. He could be out for 2 weeks. And Carlo Ancelotti said it's not serious, but they're going to try wrap him up in cotton wool. He didn't say that, by the way. It's just pretty much I'm summing up what he said. But yeah, he's not going to play. Neto or Gundogan? Very good question. IBS, MUFC. You know what? I would probably go for Neto because with City, I would love to have KDB and double City defence. But that's me personally. If you want to have double City attack, then Gundogan and KDB could be very good for you. And you could maybe just save Neto. But I would go for Neto myself. I might get Areola saving points, yeah, but most likely he's not going to do anything. But you never know. We'll have to wait and see. I have Bruno and Martial already. Should I take out Salah for Rashford to be safe? I'm wildcarding. Liverpool have very tough fixtures. Yeah, switcheroo, but never write off Salah. What I would say is you could maybe do that, so get Rashford in for Salah, and then for game week 19, maybe look to get Salah back in. So if you have Bruno, KDB, and Salah, you're in a very good position, to be honest. So yeah, I would probably get Rashford in for Salah for this week or for the wild card, and then look to bring Salah back in the future. Obviously, for who? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know your team, but yeah, I would try to get him in for sure. Rashford or Lacazette? I would go for Rashford because of his record at Turf Moor, his record away from home. And despite how good Lacazette has been, he could have a very good performance and not get you those FPL points. And I think Rashford, his numbers away from home are just really, really good and far better than what they are at home. So I would probably go for Rashford, but that's my opinion. Maybe Lacazette will outperform him, but I just couldn't tell you for sure. Thank you to everyone joining in. Over 100 people, or should I say 100 on the dot, watching. I really appreciate it. I'll try to get through all of your questions. And if I haven't answered from before, leave your questions, but don't spam the chat because obviously, there's no point doing it. I will read your question. I'm trying my best to get through all of them. Free Arsenal players or free Man City players this game week? Definitely free City, no doubt about it. Get free Manchester City players. You don't have to get free Arsenal players. Maybe 2 is good enough. Free Arsenal players could be good for you, but I just think free City is definitely a no-brainer for me. Best striker for game week 18 and 19. I'm on a wild card. I mean, I've seen people kind of get, Chris Wood and stuff like that. I mean, he's a guy who plays 3 games across them. But you know what? If you back him to start, I would probably say Martial for game weeks 18 and 19. I know one of the fixtures is Liverpool, but he will get at least 2 points for playing if he obviously does start. So yeah, Martial is probably the one that comes to mind, in my opinion. Mantra says, hi Dylan, what is your view on taking minus hits on a blank game week? Is it as simple as blank players give you 0 points, so in a -4 actually only counts as -2? If there's no red card in play? That's a good point. Well, to be honest, I was willing to take a -4. I was going to do Zuma and Salah potentially out for Stones and KDB. And yeah, -4 is fine. But when you're looking at -8, -12, -16, I mean, just play the free hit probably. Or if not, just keep things as they are. I would not go over a -8. But a -4 is fine, I think. Yeah, they could still pay off. But obviously, the more hits you take, it's going to be harder for you to get those points back. Yeah, I just think -4 maximum if you can. Maybe -8, but just don't go over that. Is Lindelof likely to play? I think he will play, but obviously I couldn't tell you for sure, but I do think Lindelof will play. Kyle Walker or Cancelo? Definitely Cancelo, no doubt about it. Even if Walker does play this game week, I think long-term Cancelo's the better option, and I still think Cancelo will start. So yeah, definitely Cancelo. Afternoon, Dylan. Thank you, Denver. Welcome for joining in the stream and appreciate the support. Paul says, have you done a wildcard team? I have. So the other day I made a video, check it out, but it has been outdated a bit, obviously, with all the latest information. There would be a few changes, obviously. So if DCL is in it and Grealish and all these players, you could obviously replace them for other options, maybe like Neto in midfield and maybe Mikel Antonio if you back him to start. But it's just really difficult, to kind of, because I made that wildcard team and it was helpful for people at the time. But then a few days later, it's not as helpful anymore because obviously all these changes will obviously change people's perception of things and the players they want to bring in, the teams they want to target. But there is a wildcard video, check it out from the other day. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, at this rate, I'm going to have to be posting a wildcard video every single day in order for it to be updated for you. But that's just how it is at the moment. Why don't you post your team every game week on YouTube or Twitter? I mean, the reason why is because I'm live streaming right now and I pretty much always discuss my team anyway, so anyone who follows me on Twitter or YouTube will know pretty much what my team is. But yeah, you know what, from time to time I will post pictures for those of you who want it, but I always live stream pretty much for FPL and UCL Fantasy, so that's why I've not really done that as much now. I'm 18 points behind you. Oh, that's pretty interesting, Denver. Yeah, that could be closed maybe even this game week. We'll have to wait and see how bad my free hit team is. Hey man, I have 7 players: Holding, Holgate, Cancelo, KDB, Bruno, Son and Wilson. Stevens from Burnley would make it 8. Should I free hit? So you have most of the key players. You've got Holding, who's a good option. Cancelo, KDB, Bruno, Son, Wilson. Yeah, you could save the free hit, to be honest. Obviously, ideally, you'd have Kane and other players, maybe some more Arsenal players or whatever, or Rashford. But yeah, I think you're fine. You don't have to free hit, and you could maybe gain more points, which is obviously the main thing about the free hit, gaining more points from it. If you have 7 players already, yeah, you could save it. Got to go for Hazard Kane, captain. Yeah, I mean, it's something I considered. I had him vice-captain actually before, but I don't know, just Bruno's so consistent. I mean, hopefully I haven't jinxed him with all this, hype that I've given him. But yeah, Kane, I mean, you can't really look past him. His record in London derbies, he's got 2 goals in 2 games against Fulham, although I do think it's like, 1 goal in each appearance, both at home, I think. But we'll have to wait and see. Bruno or Kane, whom to captain? I'm 50-50. I would probably edge towards Bruno. But Kane, on paper anyway, has the easier fixture. But then you look at Fulham's recent, defensive improvement. It's not as easy as it seems. I would go for Bruno in terms of consistency, in terms of his away record. United scoring so many goals away from home. But yeah, you can't really go wrong with either one of them, you would think anyway. Hello, Zuma to Cancelo for -4 hit. Do you think it's worth it? I think it is, to be honest. Depends on what your other transfer was, but I think it could be worth it. It's something I was considering, so I already said before. Zuma to Stones and Salah to KDB, obviously because they don't play this week. So yeah, it could be worth it. How many Dylans are here? That's a good point, Dylan Diaz. And as soon as you said that, another Dylan said something. I'm here. Yeah, I mean, a lot of Dylans at the moment. So many Dylan clones. Oh my god. Of course you're here to actually say that, Jamie. Jesus Christ. But yeah. Who to play, Kane or Son, and why? I would probably go for Kane. I mean, if you look at the home records, and hopefully you're still here, obviously, to hear this answer. Let me get the name. Singh. I would go for Kane because in terms of home records, in terms of statistics anyway, Kane trumps Son in every single aspect, And yeah, I mean, all the statistics back Kane up, and also his record in London derbies, his record against Fulham, and yeah, he's on penalties. I would go for Kane over Son, and instead of Son, you could go for Rashford. So if you can't have Son and Rashford along with Bruno and De Bruyne, why not get Kane and kind of just get Rashford instead of Son? That's just something to think about, in my opinion. Best goalkeeper this game week, 5.5. In my opinion, obviously you can't afford Lloris in that case. I would say De Gea or Leno, in my opinion. They're the two standouts. It depends on who you have in your defence. So if you have Tierney, a double Arsenal defence isn't advisable, in my opinion. And even a United double up isn't really advisable either. I would rather double up on their midfield or attack. But yeah, it's definitely between Leno or De Gea. Lloris holding Wan or Darlow, Tierney and Dyer. Very good question. Thank you for the question, Seth. I would go for the first lot, I think. Lloris, Holding and Wan-Bissaka. Although, obviously, Tierney would be ideal. I prefer the first trio. For -8 hit, transfers in options. So, option A, McTominay, Sterling, KDB and Wilson. Rashford, KDB, Wilson and Cancelo. A or B? Definitely B, I think. Let's look at that again. I mean, I know, yeah, I would go for B. Yeah, definitely B. Definitely go for B, in my opinion. B looks much better. So, Ryan, what made you go from Bruno to KDB captain? To be honest, I never had the captaincy on KDB, and I'm not sure. I think I said this in my last video, and I've been saying it for a long time now. Even if I had De Bruyne in for this game week, which I do now, hooray, I would still probably captain Bruno, and that's what I said. And obviously, I won't lie to you. I am tempted to maybe captain De Bruyne or Kane, but I don't know. I just back Bruno to score, or to at least, not blank. With De Bruyne, he's got a lot of blanks this season. With Bruno, very few, only 5, which is obviously the least along with Salah. That's why I've gone for Bruno, but I never had the captaincy on De Bruyne. If anything, I had the vice-captaincy on Kane, and I changed that to De Bruyne, but really, I don't know, maybe I should just keep on Kane. Doesn't really matter anyway. Hopefully they will start, hopefully they all do well, but Bruno's the highest scorer. We'll have to wait and see though. What do you think? Lloris, Diaz, Wan-Bissaka, Holding, Son, Fernandes, Saka, Sterling and Neto up front, Wilson and Kane. What do you think? So this is a question by Lucas Porowski. What a name. I like that team. I really like that team. Your defence is solid. Your midfield is looking good. Neto as well. I really like that pick. I know I don't have him, but I really like Neto. I mean, he's someone I've considered of, like I already said earlier in the stream, doing a 4-5-1, get rid of Wilson, forget him, and get Neto and play him instead. Yeah, that looks like a really good team, to be honest. I can't really, pick holes in it. It looks good. And if you back them to do well, then yeah. Obviously, no KDB could be maybe a bit of a bad thing, but apart from that, I don't really see any flaws in the team. Darlow or Leno keeper, as I can afford below 5.1. I would still go for Leno. I'm not sure if Newcastle are going to keep a clean sheet. I'm not sure if Darlow's going to start. I think he will, but I just couldn't tell you that for sure. And yeah, Leno can get some save points and stuff like that. Capable of saving penalties as well. So yeah, I would probably go for Leno. Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Dyer? I don't know. I mean, you have to tell me the rest of your team. If you already have a United or Spurs defender, you know what? Forgetting about the rest of the team, I would probably still go for Dyer. I know he's a boring pick, but yeah, I mean, they're both good options. Gundogan or Foden? I would actually go for Gundogan, but Foden's not a bad option. It's just that, he's kind of hit and miss. He can get 14 points like he did last week, and then he can get 1 or 2 points, and then maybe he'll get benched, and then, etc. So I think Gundogan has shown more consistency in terms of FPL points. But yeah, I mean, both are good options. Son or Kane for captain? I would probably go for Kane. Yeah, I think he's the better captaincy option. And like I said, there's no need to spam the chat because I will get to your question. I'm trying my best to get to them. Stones nailed? I think he is. I think he's likely to play. He didn't even play in the FA Cup. He came on as a substitute. I think he will play. I wouldn't say he's absolutely nailed, but in terms of first choice, centre backs, it's Diaz and Stones. Even when Laporte is fit, and guess what? Laporte and Ake are both injured still, so Stones should play unless Pep is going to be woke and play Walker at centre back, not play Cancelo, and we're all in the mud. But hopefully not. Would Rashford to Salah for game week 21 be too late? That's when United fixtures get worse and Salah has so many bad fixtures. I'm not too sure. I mean, I just think Salah for the double game week even is good. So I can understand why you're saying it's a bit too late. You would want him for the double game week. But then again, if you have Bruno, you have KDB, you've got Rashford, and you've got a good team all round, it's not like you're really going to be hurt too much by Salah unless he scores a hat-trick or something. But yeah, I would try to get Salah in as soon as possible. But that's my opinion. Some people have gone without him for a few game weeks now, and guess what? He's blanked every single time. So it could really come back to bite you, but maybe it won't. Who to captain, guys? This is by MLM Malaysia TV. Well, in my opinion, it's between Bruno, De Bruyne, and Kane. And at the moment, I'm going for Bruno, but that's just my answer. Foden or Neto? I would go for Neto. Thank you, Android Game World. That's a great name. Jamie, Pope, Shaw, Reguilon, Cancelo, Fernandes, Son, Bruno, Gundogan, Neto, Foden, Kane. Wilson for Foden. I probably would, but considering how good Foden has been for you, Jamie, maybe just keep him because, Foden got you 14 points last week. I remember that. Thanks for the comment. Fucking hell. Marco says, Laka and Burke playing 4-4-2 or Wilson and Neto. Yeah, definitely Wilson and Neto. Playing Burke? No. If anything on your bench, I would not start Burke. I would go for Wilson and Neto. Yeah, with a City defender, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Saka's a bench option. Do we really need that good bench as a game has already been postponed? That's a good point, but, I mean, if you look at my bench, for example, I've got 3 decent bench options, especially the first 2, but they're all cheap. It's not like I've spent 5+ million on all of them. Yedlin's 4.4, not even that, 4.3, Brewster's 4.5, and Smith Rowe is 4.4, so they're really cheap. That's why I've got them. And yeah, I might be frustrated if Smith Rowe does really well and Yedlin keeps a clean sheet, but I would rather have those points just in case than, have maybe 10 or 9 players and then someone just completely useless comes in. But yeah, I would definitely go for the first, or should I say the second option you went with, so Wilson and Neto. Foden or Neto, yeah, I already answered your question. Like I said, no need to spam the chat. I will be obviously putting people on timeout if you do spam the chat, because there is no need. Stones or Diaz? I would probably still go for Stones. He just gives you more money to kind of invest elsewhere. But if you're not really looking to upgrade and you've got enough money for any of them, then yeah, Diaz is obviously more secure for a start. But yeah, I would go for Stones personally. That's my answer. Rashford or Son? Ask Henry. I would probably go for Rashford this game week. And yeah, I'll probably go for Rashford. Only just, and I got asked this earlier. It's a really tough one. It's pretty much a 51-49 decision. I would still probably go for Rashford. Shaw and Wan-Bissaka or Saka and Wilson? Good question. I'll probably go for Saka and Wilson in my opinion. Arnab says, hey Dylan, hope you're well. If you had to choose between these 3, who would you go for? Stones, Diaz, or Stones, Dyer or Tierney? Other defenders, Cancelo. If I had to choose 2, that's a really tough one. I'm not sure about the rest of your team. I would probably go for Tierney and Dyer, probably. And then maybe you can have double City attacking that way. But yeah, that's a really good, obviously, team that you have there. Areola or Meslier? Henry, I'm not sure if you're wildcarding, but if you are, I would go for Meslier. But yeah, obviously, Meslier doesn't play this game week. Just bear that in mind. But yeah, I would probably go for Meslier. Can we see your bench? Yeah, Russell. I've showed it before, and I'm not sure if you've obviously seen it by now, but yeah. Smith Rowe, Yedlin, Brewster. They are going to be mine. Let's actually zoom out a bit so you can all see my team. Yeah. Looking glorious, isn't it? Hopefully. Yeah, I agree, Aurelio. Stop spamming. I mean, that's why I put him on timeout, unfortunately. KDB or Sterling? Good question. I would still go for KDB. In terms of any underlying statistics you can throw at them, even threat. I mean, Sterling is slightly better in terms of goal threat, but KDB, I think he's just a must-have. His statistics. And Sterling, I know he's outperformed KDB over the last 6 or 7 game weeks overall, but I just prefer KDB. That's just my opinion. Sterling is a great risk if it pays off. But yeah, I think KDB. Lloris, Wan-Bissaka, Stones, Cancelo, De Bruyne, captain, Fernandes, Son, Smith Rowe, Lacazette, Kane, Wilson. And your subs are Peacock, Farrell, or Ferrell. I'm probably butchering that. Holding, Kilman, Burke. Yeah, I like that. And what I really like about your bench is Holding. You know, he could be really good coming off from the bench. But yeah, I think that's a very good team. Wan-Bissaka maybe might disappoint. Not Wan-Bissaka, sorry. Smith Rowe, maybe he will disappoint you. But he's 4.4 million. But yeah, fantastic value for his price. I like that team. Rohan says, hey Dylan, would you do this? Lloris to De Gea, Smith Rowe to Burke, Mitchell to Dyer, Cancelo to Stones. I want a free hit. No. The reason why, I know maybe you have some doubts about Cancelo, but going from Cancelo to Stones, if they both start, that's a downgrade in my opinion. Mitchell to Dyer, that's an upgrade to be fair. Smith Rowe to Burke, that's a downgrade. And then Lloris to De Gea. Yeah, I think that's a downgrade too. So I would probably just keep the players that you have right now. KDB captain, top captain this game week in my opinion. I mean, he's the most captain. I mean, I'd be surprised if he's not the most captained. I put up a poll yesterday and nearly 60% of you said you're going to captain De Bruyne, which is just incredible. And all the other options, and we're talking about Lacazette, Kane, and Bruno Fernandes, you know, didn't even get, obviously, you know, near that. And obviously that's all of them combined. So yeah, it just shows that KDB is going to be very popular this week. Stephen asks, will Jesus play? I think he will. Oh, actually, what am I saying? I don't know. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I was going to say yeah, but then I thought of it. Oh, it's Pep. Yeah, no. KDB could play as a false nine. It could be Jesus. It could even be Sterling as a false nine. I do think Jesus will play. I think he could. I wouldn't be sure. It's a risk. If you have him in and he does well, obviously you're going to be buzzing, but it is a risk. I would just rather have the double-seated defence and De Bruyne, or if you want to have a punt, I think Gundogan or Foden would be better options, in my opinion. I might be wrong, but yeah, I'm not too sure about Jesus. So Murphy asks, hey Dylan, De Gea and Dyer or Lloris and Wan-Bissaka? Cheers. Well, I would probably go for the second lot. Yeah, Lloris and Wan-Bissaka. It's what I have. There's not much in it, to be honest, really. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, but I'll probably just prefer the second one. The reason being, Lloris is more capable of getting save points and stuff like that and bonus than De Gea. And Wan-Bissaka maybe has more attacking potential than Dyer. But yeah, it's a tough one. Do I keep Dallas for the double or transfer Holding in for this week? That's a tough one, Matthew. I would probably still keep Dallas, in my opinion. Even if they don't have the double, which I don't think they're going to have the double, by the way. I don't think it's going to happen. It's just every single piece of news is pointing towards that game being rescheduled in order to facilitate the Southampton versus Shrewsbury tie. I would still keep Dallas. I think it's a good long-term option. Who do I make captain, KDB or Son? I think KDB, owned by M. Nice name. Well, maybe not nice, but yeah. I'll probably go for KDB. Holding and Clark or Tierney and Mitchell with no other subs active? That's a tough one. Mitchell, I just wouldn't want to start Mitchell, to be honest. I would try to find money elsewhere and get Tierney in, but if not, yeah, Holding and Clark, but I'm just not really feeling it at the moment. Good evening. What are your plans on Liverpool coverage with the double coming? Is Salah in your thoughts, or will you already have him after your free hit chip? Yeah, I've still got him, and I think I'm going to be keeping him, but I might change my mind, of course. Depending on how De Bruyne does, if he looks amazing and City do as well, then I may consider doing Salah to KDB. But I don't know, I want to keep Salah in my opinion. And in terms of the defence, I'm not interested in the defence, especially away from home, they look poor. So yeah, Salah or nothing really in terms of Liverpool coverage. Thank you for the comment, Juventini. I've actually, I'm trying my absolute best to go for every single question, but it's impossible with so many people here. I really appreciate it. And like I said, if you have a question that I haven't answered, say it again, but don't spam the chat, please. Like, there's no point. Like, it's just not going to be read, and you're just going to be put on timeout. So there's no point. Should I captain Kane? I don't know who your other options are, Sorav, but he's a great option this week. Top 3 in my opinion, possibly top 2. I think Bruno and De Bruyne are better options. That's my opinion, but Kane is still, someone who could do the business for you. Gundogan or Saka? I'll probably go for Saka, and the only reason being is that obviously with Gundogan you're using a City slot. Saka's one of the better options you can get from Arsenal. So yeah, I would go for Saka. Dyer or Tierney and get rid of a potential backup sub? I would go for Tierney because of his attacking potential, and try to have Spurs, defensive cover as well. Thank you, Sarah, for your comment. Cancelo for captain? No. Why? Did you not see the comments by Pep as well? No. Just captain a midfielder or attacker, in my opinion. Obviously, if Cancelo gets 15 points or something, then fair enough, do what you want. But in my opinion, no. Thoughts on Martial? Great option, as we've been discussing earlier. Great record at Turf Moor. He scored every single time he has been there, and he's a very streaky player. I still prefer Rashford and Bruno. That's me personally. And having maybe one United defender or De Gea in. But yeah, Martial's a good option. He's maybe a bit of a differential this week. So yeah, you could go for him. Me personally, I won't be. But definitely don't rule him out. And I think he could score against Burnley. Will Cavani start? I don't think so. Thank you for your comment. I don't think he will start, but it's another one, you know. It's a 60-40 kind of chance of Martial starting. So yeah, I'm just not too sure. That's why I just want Rashford and Bruno because of how good they are away from home, how consistent and nailed they are, especially Bruno. So yeah, I would probably just, you know, kind of try to avoid that conundrum of Martial versus a Cavani. Son or Bruno for captain, mate? I would go for Bruno, definitely. That's my opinion anyway. Wow. Okay, thank you very much. I'll be captaining Son. Oh my. Oh, okay. I thought you asked a question about should I captain KDB or Son, and because I said KDB, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go Son because you're a jinx. I mean, at this point, it's getting like that, I guess. Will Lindelof play? I think so, Ariel. But obviously, you know, if it doesn't happen, don't go to my house and shoot me or something. But I do think he will play. And Ollie did say in his press conference that him and Shaw are cleared to play, or at least to be in contention to start. That doesn't mean they definitely will play, but they have a chance. Who are your subs? I've been asked this a million times. I'm guessing you're new to this. So yeah, Smith Rowe, Yedlin and Brewster are my subs. Goalkeeper doesn't matter unless Lloris gets a freak injury, which I wouldn't be surprised at this point considering how the season has gone. Yeah, those are my substitutes. I really like your channel, mate. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know. I actually thought you were doing that joke or something. But yeah, Lloris to Leno and get better bench. Nah, I don't think so necessarily, especially in my case anyway. I'm not sure if you're talking about your team or mine. I mean, I'm happy with my bench. I mean, if anything, people will look at that and say, huh, you're doofus, you got too many points on your bench. But you know what? I'm just happy with the bench. I'm happy with my squad. I don't want to overthink it. It's important now, especially, you know, oh no, 4 minutes. Oh, no, no, what should I do? Wan-Bissaka, oh no, Dyer. Like, just chill. Like, let's just all chill. Obviously, there's a lot of difficult decisions to make, but ultimately, the core of your team is going to be right. It's going to be what you want. A few things you're going to be overthinking. But yeah, just try to keep calm. I'm telling you now, just the less you overthink, the better. The better decisions you make, the more composed you are, and everything goes well, hopefully. Thank you, Home, for the compliment. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I see you in the next stream. Arnab says, okay, here's my team. Darlow, 2 slots between Tierney, Stones and Dyer. And yeah, and I think I did say Tierney and Dyer probably because you already have Cancelo. Cancelo, KDB, Bruno, Rashford, Son, Saka, Kane and Wilson. Which 2 slots in defence would you go for? Yeah, so Arnab, I'm not sure if you heard earlier, but I did respond to your question and I went for Tierney and Dyer. But you know what? Revisiting my answer, if you don't think Cancelo's going to start, or if you think there's a chance he's going to be benched and you want that City cover no matter what, then maybe go for Stones instead of Dyer and get Tierney and Stones. But if you think Cancelo's definitely going to start no matter what, then just go for Dyer. That's my opinion. Hopefully that does help you out. Good luck, mate. Good luck to you too, Justin. And yeah, thank you to everyone who's been here. Please answer, Lindelof or Saiss? Good question. I would probably go for Lindelof still. The thing with Saiss is he's got goal threat, but he's facing Everton, and I'm just not sure. Despite how good Wolves have been at home defensively, they haven't kept a clean sheet in 10 games. Then again, United haven't kept a clean sheet away from home this season so far in the Premier League. I would still probably go for Lindelof. That's just me. It might be the wrong one, but hopefully you pick the right one. Tierney or Saka? What am I doing? I was just getting excited, and I was going to say Saka immediately. Tierney. Just forget what I said. Tierney's the guy. Rashford and Brewster or Lacazette / Martial and Saka? I am free hitting. Yeah, Brewster's useless. Rashford's really good, but Brewster's useless. So I would go for Lacazette / Martial and Saka. If you obviously wanted me to give an opinion about Martial versus Lacazette, I'd probably go for Lacazette, but that's a tough one. Burke would be on the bench, and I would start Laka and the spare defender. With Wilson and Neto, I'd have to bench either the spare defender or Saka. Okay, you know what? Fair enough then. You know what? I would go for the first one then. I'll go for Lacazette and and Burke or whatever. Best of luck, mate. I've done captain in Bruno. Yeah, hopefully that turns out right. Hopefully. Yeah, I already answered your question, Jacob. Would this change your choice? If I transfer in Holding, I will have 11 for Game Week 18, but if I keep Dallas, I will have 10. Would you still keep Dallas? I would still keep Dallas, in my opinion. Holding might do well for this week. Might get maybe 6 to 9 points because of bonus or whatever. But yeah, just long term, you'd want to have Dallas. And if you want to get him back in, it's going to be a bit of a mess. To be fair, though, with Holding, For the next two, he's got great fixtures. He's got Newcastle coming up after, just like in the FA Cup a few days ago. So if Dallas doesn't have the double game week, then maybe Holding will outscore him in the next two. So you know what? You could go for Holding in now, but you want to get Dallas back in my opinion. He's the better long-term asset. But if you want to have a little punt for 2 or 3 weeks, then yeah, go for Holding. I've got no defensive cover. Is it safer to go for Diaz over Cancelo? Already got Tierney and Stones. Yeah, Lewis. So I think Cancelo will start, but if you're not sure, go for Diaz. Extra security. The only problem with going with this is if Cancelo does start, and obviously you're just going to be hiding behind your sofa, hoping that he doesn't get any, assists or anything like that. Rashford and Brewster or Lacazette, Martial and Saka? Yeah, I already answered that question. Saka or Gundogan, mate? I would probably go for Saka. With Gundogan, you could use the City slots elsewhere. That's just my thinking about it. In terms of just comparing them player for player, Gundogan has better statistics, definitely, but I just prefer Saka. Geez, we have the same team, except I have Smith Rowe instead of Wilson. Oh, yeah. Maybe that's a mistake from my part going forward there. And I do believe the deadline has passed. This is the free hit, and whatever happens, happens. I've done my captain. It's locked in. Bruno Fernandes is the captain. De Bruyne is vice-captain. Kane, Wilson, Son, Rashford. Oh, blimey. Wan-Bissaka, Cancelo, Stones, Tierney, Lloris. Will Cancelo start? That is the million-dollar question. We're going to find out. Oh, my God. I just hope he does. And if not, I've got Smith Rowe, Yedlin, and Brewster to come on. Obviously, I would hope Brewster's just obviously never coming on, but he is an option there nonetheless. DCL to Wilson. Yeah, I think so. I mean, DCL, I think he's going to be out for 2 weeks, so maybe he's going to miss another game week or 2. So yeah, I would probably get rid of him. Wilson, I'm not sure. Obviously, for this game week, I see the appeal and I see the reasons why. I'm not too sure about that, but yeah, I would probably get rid of DCL. Thanks for the tip. Good luck. Thank you as well. Thank you, Jacob. Burke would be on the bench, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, great minds think alike. I hope so. So I'm guessing you captain Bruno, or you have a similar team. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, the great minds thing obviously translates into points, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Will you bet who will win game week 18? Not sure what you're asking there, unless you're asking me for predictions, which I don't mind doing. Should I captain Kane? Well, Ahmed, the deadline has passed. If we look here, yeah, 4:30. The deadline has passed. Remember, it's 1 hour and a half before the game starts. But Kane's a good captaincy option, so if you went with him, that's fine. I personally prefer Bruno and KDB this week. But then again, if I were to captain KDB or Kane, I would still be tempted by Kane because Kane has been more consistent this year and KDB has blanked a lot. But thinking about the fixture, the form and all of that stuff, I think Bruno and KDB are the standouts this week. The deadline has passed, yeah, exactly, and we'll have to wait and see. Thoughts on this free hit? De Gea, Tierney, Diaz, Stones, KDB, Fernandes, Son, Saka, Martial, Kane. That looks really good. And Martial, Wilson and Kane, yeah, that's a good front line. I really like that team. Yeah, I think that should do well. You've got a few different picks, like I already pointed out. Martial's a very good one, so that should do well. Thank you, Ahmed, for commenting. I really appreciate it. If you have any more questions, then let me know. I will still be here for, obviously as long as you lot want me to be here. Maybe not for long, but we'll have to wait and see. I know the deadline has passed, don't worry. I still wouldn't mind your opinion. Yeah, I still think it's a good team, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. With this game week, with everyone free hitting, it seems, obviously in this kind of, Twitter and YouTube bubble, it might seem everyone has the same team, but no, there are going to be different teams, trust me. But then again, obviously, compared to maybe a few weeks ago, my team would have been a lot different compared to most people, but now it's obviously more identical. But yeah, that's a good team that you have. You've got some interesting picks, and I really like going for those kind of punts, but at the same time, I'm more of a guy who trusts reliability and consistency. So that's why I've maybe got some boring picks here, but we'll have to wait and see. Then again, I think people think that I'm being bold by going with 4 defenders. Different ways of looking at it. It's all about perspective. I went for KDB captain over Bruno purely for the fact that City are playing after United. That's maybe true. Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, they're both good options anyway. You can't really go wrong. You just have to hope that you captain the right one. And obviously, if both of them haul, that's obviously great. Obviously, you'd still prefer your captain to outperform them. Stones, Diaz, Tierney, Smith Rowe, and Saka, Bruno, KDB, Wilson, Kane. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, having Smith Rowe and Saka starting, not too sure about that. If you had Saka and Neto or Saka and Gundogan or Foden, then yeah, I would probably prefer that. But yeah, I mean, I still like that team, to be honest. You think Joelinton was a good pick instead of Wilson because of money? I mean, I don't know. With Joelinton, I just think I wouldn't say he's an awful player, but Wilson's a much better finisher. And if Newcastle do score, Wilson's the more likely to obviously do something. And in terms of when Wilson is on the pitch, he accounts for around 70% of Newcastle's goals. So yeah, I still would prefer Wilson for sure, despite the money, obviously. It's more for my sanity than anything else. Yeah, that's true. But captaining Bruno, obviously, there's less of a chance, obviously, of the game being postponed today than maybe of City. But you know what? I just want to stop thinking about it. And you know what we should do? We should actually just hope for the best that obviously all these games go ahead. Because imagine one of these games with some of our players involved gets postponed and, you know, you kind of think, well, I've just wasted my free hit here. And that's kind of the problem with bench boosting in Game Week 19. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, there's so many kind of, you know, question marks over everything. Just have to hope that this all goes smoothly. But yeah, let's just wait and see. Let's wait and see. But I had no money. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, you know, you're going to fail. Get out of here. Like, no. It's all about money. And if you can't get Wilson and you have to get Joelinton, that's fair enough. You don't want to, you know, kind of downgrade Son or Fernandes or Rashford, De Bruyne, all these good players just, you know, for Wilson. But yeah, I still think it's good. Will you stream on Game Week 19? I will. And also stream on UCL Fantasy if you play that by any chance. But yeah, before every deadline I stream. I do a deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline. And of course, if you have feedback, so if some of you would prefer me, you know, streaming earlier or maybe a bit, you know, later, then just let me know. Of course, I always listen to feedback. But yeah, at the moment, I've just streamed 1 hour before the deadline. And I lock in my team. I talk about my decisions. Obviously, I do videos. I do previews, chip strategies, wildcard videos, free hits, all of that. But on top of that, obviously, I talk about what I'm actually going to go into the game week with. And I try to answer as many questions as possible. And today it was really difficult with over 100 people watching, which I really appreciate. But yeah, I try to answer every single question. And if there's any that obviously I don't get to answer, then you leave comments down in the comment section below and I will answer them as best as I can. But yeah, that's obviously the idea anyway. Who is on your bench? This is M. Hopefully this is not the M I believe it is. But yeah, my bench is Smith Rowe, Yedlin and Brewster. That is my bench. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, his bench is ESR, Yedlin and Brewster. Yeah, that's good memory, Arnab. But to be fair though, actually, I have kind of gone over it like 3 or 4 times. But yeah, I mean, new people come in all the time, so it is understandable. I'm going to subscribe. Awesome. Thank you, Ahmed. And thank you for your questions and your input. And wish you all the best of luck for this game week and beyond. And thank you to all 80 people who are still here. And yeah, if you have any more questions or whatever you want to discuss, I'll still be here, obviously, until otherwise. Leno, Cancelo, Stones, Tierney, Saka, KDB, Bruno, Rashford, Son, Silva, and Kane. Thoughts? Yeah, I'm trying to pick out holes. What I'm trying to do is, as I'm reading them, kind of pick out holes. And to be honest, the only hole I would say is maybe Bernardo Silva. Actually, that's maybe not Bernardo Silva. Is that Fabio Silva? But yeah, apart from that, I really like the team. But maybe it's going to go well. Why are you free hitting? Great question. And to be honest, I actually haven't said why. Well, I talked about it briefly at the beginning. So going into this game week, let's actually look at my team. Obviously, let me not refresh because obviously then, you know, I don't have a team to show you. But this is how my team was looking going into the game week. So I had 7 players originally, but with Aston Villa's game against Spurs being postponed, no Martinez, no Grealish, down to 5. And then what happens? As you can see from this amazing red flag, Calvert-Lewin sustains a hamstring injury and down to 4. So I went from 7, which I would have been perfectly happy with, by the way, because I still had Cancelo, I had Bruno, I had Kane and Son. I was happy with that. And I had 2 Villa players, even though it's a tough fixture, whatever. And Calvert-Lewin. But now that I have 4, I just thought I have to free hit, you know, because despite how good those 4 players are, I just think that I could gain a lot of points, you know, by adding some of these players like Rashford and KDB, etc., rather than taking hits to maybe get Stones and KDB in, which was an option, to be fair. But if I did do that, I would still only have 6 players. And I thought I just might as well free hit. Maybe down the line, I will be like, damn, I should have saved my free hit. But yeah, I mean, we won't know until obviously later on in the year. But hopefully I've made the right decision. We'll have to wait and see how my team does this game week. But that's how my team was looking going into game week 18. It was looking good until obviously the Villa postponement and Calvert-Lewin's injury. But it is what it is. You know, that's how FPL is at the moment with injuries and with COVID-19 at the moment. I risked it with these 6: Stones, Diaz, Bruno, De Bruyne, Son and Rashford. Do you think it's any good? I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of those players that you obviously have are targeted by people on a free hit. So that looks good, to be honest. Nice chat. I'm going to subscribe. Thank you, Ibrahim. I really appreciate it. And yeah, in future, if you have any comments, any suggestions, questions, whatever, leave them down in the comment section of any video or post that I make, and I will answer. Thank you. Dylan, when did you start YouTube? I started in January last year, actually. I think we're nearly actually 1 year to the day that I started. Well, around maybe, let's say, over 10 years ago, I did start. But obviously, it was another channel. I did other stuff. But in terms of, FPL content and the type of stuff I do now on this channel, it's been pretty much nearly a year. So maybe the 14th of January of 2020. And yeah, I mean, I have to say, this content, the kind of ones I'm doing right now, I've been doing since September. So I've been consistent since then. Before that, I was doing videos of all types of stuff. I was doing Arsenal videos, Premier League predictions, gaming videos, gaming live stream, stuff like that on top of FPL. But it took me a long time to obviously, grow. I'm still obviously really small and humble channel. But I experienced most of my growth from September onwards. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to ramble too much. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have any more, then obviously let me know. Should I be worried about Pickford in goal? Yes, I would be worried about Pickford in goal, no matter if you're talking about FPL or real life, mate. But I'm not sure if this is your real, or should I say your normal team. But yeah, Pickford, you know what, just hope for the best. Let's just hope for the best. But I think Wolves will score. That's a really difficult game to predict, and that's why I've pretty much avoided the players, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, just if you look at the fixtures, the two fixtures I'm most worried about are Sheffield, Newcastle. Why do I have Wilson? Good question. I don't know why. And Wolves versus Everton. But the rest, I'm fairly confident about. United winning, Spurs, City, and Arsenal obviously doing well. We'll have to wait and see though. Will Stones play? I think he will. But Genius Gamer, don't obviously kind of be rest assured by my comment or panic by my response. I genuinely don't know, but I think he will play. We'll have to hope he does. Will Wilson play? Yeah, I think he will. He was rested against Arsenal in the FA Cup, but yeah, just with Newcastle, I'm just worried about them being so bad that they make Sheffield look good and Wilson has no service. That's my worry. But Wilson's away record is very good. He's only blanked once away from home when he has started, as far as I know anyway. Let's actually check. Let's see. Was I chatting rubbish? Let's see. So against West Ham, got 8 points. Tottenham got 8 points. Oh yeah, that lovely penalty at the end. Lovely jubbly. Wolves away, got an assist. Southampton, he blanked, and that's obviously when he sustained the injury. And guess what, lads? That was the game week I brought Wilson in to replace injured Danny Ings. That was a nightmare. Didn't play against Chelsea. 12 points against Palace, which I had him for, thankfully. 5 points against Leeds. Didn't play against City, to be fair, so you can't count that as a blank, okay? You can't count that as a blank. I'm talking about when he starts. So yeah, he's only blanked once away from home. So if you have Wilson, maybe a bit more confidence. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Look at my double game week team, please. Scroll. Let me see. Okay, not too much then. Your double game week 19 team, that's looking further ahead now. Backline, Soufal, Cancelo, Robertson, Walker-Peters, Bruno, Grealish, Son, Salah, Bamford, Firmino, Martinez in goal. That looks pretty good. I don't really like Firmino, even for the double game week, but yeah, that's a good team, to be honest. You have triple Liverpool, which at the moment might seem a bit too much, but they're still one of the best teams in the country, if not the best. Yeah, I like that team overall, and yeah, you've got some very good players in there. I'm not sure, are you going to bench boost or something? But yeah, that looks pretty good, to be honest. Cancelo or Diaz for now and future game weeks? Cancelo. With Diaz, you're going to get guaranteed starts, or at least, let's put it this way. Out of 10 games, Diaz will at least start 9. With Cancelo, maybe 7 or 8. But Cancelo is more likely to get bonus points. He's more likely to get assists and goals. So I would go for Cancelo, and he's a bit cheaper as well. So yeah, that would be my pick. But if you don't like rotation headaches, and I don't, to be fair, but I've obviously risked it with Cancelo anyway. I have him in my normal team. But yeah, if you just want someone who's going to clear your head of any kind of worries, then just go for Diaz. But for me, it's Joao. It's Joao. Don't you think it's a risk going for Steele on your bench in case Tottenham game gets called off, as he rarely plays for Brighton? Yeah, that's a good point. Well, to be honest, the way I look at it is, if I wanted, let's say Joe Hart, and I was just playing around with my draft anyway. I had Joe Hart as my second keeper, but then guess what? That means losing either Son or Kane. So I can't just have the double up in the Spurs keepers and then obviously have Son and Kane. There's a limit of 3 players. I didn't want to do that just for a backup. Lloris should play. Obviously, with what you say about the postponements, that's a very fair suggestion. Steele was just there anyway. If he did play, which he probably won't, he's probably going to obviously get battered anyway. So he's just there. I wouldn't really think about it too much. But maybe maybe you're onto something. What team do you support? As you can see, I support Arsenal, and lifelong fan. It's my local team. Been to Highbury, been to the Emirates, or at least with Highbury, obviously as a kid I celebrated obviously the title parades and stuff. Obviously a long time ago now, but yeah, Arsenal always my club. And I am from, or should I say my family's from Argentina, so I also have an Argentinian team, and that's Rosario Central, but you probably don't know them, so let's not talk about them. But yeah. Bench boost game week 19, what do you think? Tell me your team, and then obviously I can give you a more informed opinion about whether you should bench boost or not, because, you know, saying should I bench boost is kind of vague, do you know what I mean? Because it depends on your team, your situation, and all of that. But yeah, tell me your team, and I'll try to answer your question. Good luck to everyone this game week. Let's hope there isn't another scout tweet. James Justin horror story. Oh, yeah. I mean, the scout is actually, I don't know if they do it on purpose, but they're really good at their job, which is jinxing people. So, yeah, whenever I see that, I kind of try to go away. Come on, you Gunners. So Ibrahim, you're an Arsenal fan as well. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, hopefully more Arsenal fans in the chat. But yeah, do you live in the UK? Yeah, I do. Like I said, my local team is Arsenal. So yeah, I do live in London, but let's not say any more before it turns creepy. Wild guess, who's taking the league this year? If you're asking me right now, I'd say City. But before the season started, I was going for Liverpool. I thought Liverpool, City, United, and yes, I will admit it, I thought Arsenal would get into the top 4. It could still happen, but it's fairly unlikely at the moment. But yeah, I thought Liverpool would win the league, but with the injury to Van Dijk, that's changed things. All the injuries they get into Jota and all these informed players. I just think City are I wouldn't say they're under the radar because everyone's aware of them now, and they've improved defensively, which obviously this season they've been a bit iffy. But I really like how City have been this season, or at least in the last few games, because let's say maybe the first 7-8 game weeks, I just was not impressed with City at all. Yeah, they were a bit better defensively, but offensively they were nowhere near the same team. But now they're looking back to their best. But yeah, so I'd probably say City at the moment, but you never know. I would not rule out Liverpool at all. Don't rule out Liverpool. I don't think United have enough to win the league. I think the defence will let them down, but Bruno Fernandes is an amazing player. This season he's been the best player so far in the league, and he could take them, you know, kind of close to Liverpool and City, I think. Good luck, Dylan. The stress is now over. Now it's just the regret and anger when one of the 1,000 options does better than our own. That's a really good point. I mean, to be honest, maybe the stress is going to come now. So I don't know if I'm going to watch the games. I'm definitely watching Arsenal. You know, I'm not going to not watch Arsenal because of FPL, for fuck's sake. But I don't know. I mean, watching Man City and stuff, and then maybe seeing Sterling play, hide under the couch, possibility. With Spurs, I mean, I should be covered with their points, really. I mean, unless Fulham do the unthinkable, which to be honest I would actually like because I hate Spurs, but FPL wise obviously that would be a disaster for my team. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, looking over it, maybe Wolves, Everton, maybe Neto does really well and I'll be like, oh, maybe I should have gone for him, but whatever, not much we can see. City gang, so Ahmed's a City fan, fair enough. And yeah, I know some people who I actually know a City fan, believe it or not, but yeah, wasn't always a City fan. But anyway, what do we think of Spurs? Shit. But yeah, obviously, yeah, we already know that kind of story. I mean, I went to the FA Cup parade and Wilshere was the one who was saying, like, what do you think of Tottenham? What do you think of shit? And oh my God, I've lost my voice already. I'm not even shouting, but yeah. What do you think? Where do you think Arsenal will finish? On Arteta, in or out? Okay. Some very good questions, and apologies to anyone who I haven't obviously responded to. I will try to get to all your questions, but I'm trying to give detailed answers. So give me a second, just a little war break, and before I answer this. So yeah, so where do I think Arsenal will finish? Very good question. If I'm being honest, there was a period where, you know, when we went 8 games without a win after the United result. Oh my God, I mean, it was just completely horrific, and the football was dire. We had no cutting edge, no creativity, and I thought, you know what? I was never thinking we'd get relegated, but I did think we were in a relegation fight because obviously the table doesn't lie. But right now, with the form we're in, obviously things are going to look much better, and only 10 points or whatever off the top. But I don't think we have enough for top 4. I mean, we have good players, but there's a lot of deadwood in there. And yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I like Arteta. I really like him. And I said this even during our bad period. But what I didn't like about him and why I wasn't saying, I wasn't Arteta in or out. I still am not. I back him. I back any manager who is there. I backed Unai Emery. I backed Wenger. It's just with Arteta, he made some really questionable decisions, during that period. So, for example, in the Manchester City game in the Carabao Cup, he played Runnison over Leno. Now, of course, I get the kind of argument, he's resting Leno, all of that, but playing Runnison against the calibre of opposition that City are, yeah, and having seen Runnison in the Europa League and how poor he was, I just thought, decisions like that, then constantly playing Willian, and not playing a number 10 and all of this stuff when we desperately need creativity, and then making the same mistakes, no plan B. I was just thinking, you know what, even though I would rather the squad get eliminated than Arteta, I was thinking, you know what, if we want to have a bounce, we probably maybe should sack him. But to be honest, I think we should keep him. So if that's Arteta in, if that classifies as that, then fair enough. I'm not really sitting on the fence. So I always back the manager. I think the players backstabbed Emery, and they did the same with Wenger. And they're both really good managers, especially Arsene Wenger. And I think Arteta has a lot of potential. He's making a lot of mistakes. His treatment of Saliba's situation and all of that, and Ozil hasn't been good. Let's be honest, it has not been good at all. And some of his favouritism is quite, infuriating. And playing Nketiah over Balogun, for example, who's probably more talented. But long story short, I back Arteta, no matter if obviously I have doubts about him, which I still have a few doubts about him, but I think he has shown more than enough. The record against the big teams now, the FA Cup win, and bringing in some of these players. I mean, Smith Rowe is pretty much a player of his now, because Smith Rowe never really played in the first team beforehand, and Saka's gone to a new level. So he has improved some players. He hasn't gotten the best out of players like Pepe. But yeah, I mean, I know that was a really long answer, but yeah, I do back Arteta. I do like the guy. And let's go through your questions. So yeah, let me close all this. And yeah, Smith Rowe is so important for our team. The difference he has made is crazy. I agree. He's really, really important. I actually think, him, Saka on going to the right, I think those are two really big, reasons why we're doing so well. Having Xhaka instead of Elneny, I think is a big reason as well. I don't like Xhaka. I don't think he is the answer long term. And when I say I don't like Xhaka, I don't think he's good enough, for Arsenal, to be starter, to have been captain and all of that. But he is a scapegoat, And players like Lacazette, another scapegoat. Bellerin, despite the fact that he can have some really poor games, he is a scapegoat. I think we have bigger problems than them. But adding in players like Partey, for example, to the team that beat West Brom, and he can play over maybe Ceballos, maybe adding Gabriel over Holding. I think, you've got good players on paper, but we have so many players. You look at, the squad morale and the squad depth. You could say, it's good squad depth, but you've literally got, 7, 8 centre-backs? That's why players like Socrates just have to go and stuff like that. But yeah, Smith Rowe, quality player. And yeah, he's done more than Ozil has in the last year or so, I think. And he's a quality player. And I don't hate Ozil, by the way. I'm just pointing out a fact. And Ozil used to be really good in his prime. Why are the M's red in the chat? Why are the M's red in the chat? Let me check this, actually. Why are the M's red in the chat? Not too sure about that. On mine it's all fine. Big credit to you, Dylan. Still taking the time to respond to questions. Guys, please hit the likes and subscribe button. Let's support Dylan. He deserves it for the hard work. Thank you, Mickey. I really appreciate it. And all the support over the last few live streams and videos. So really appreciate it. And yeah, hit the subscribe button and also the like button. It costs nothing if you enjoy the content. And if you don't like it, then fair enough. You don't have to watch. But yeah, that's just how I think of it. Nothing tops Unai running. Yeah, Torreira at number 10. Yeah, stuff like that was why I thought, yeah, you know what, Emery had to go. But I did feel sorry for him. And, all the rumours about, the players kind of taking the piss out of his accent and stuff like that, I hated that. I really hated the players at some point because of stuff like that. But Emery's a good coach. I'm not going to say he's a world-class coach. He's not. But he was good. And the 22-game unbeaten run, the Europa League run, obviously the final was a disaster. But, beating Valencia and Napoli is no mean feat. And to be fair, before Ramsey got injured, Arsenal were third. And also they were obviously looking really good in Europa League. So, I think the Ramsey injury was a big reason why we obviously didn't end up doing well under Emery. And also, yeah, the capitulation towards the end, which, to be honest, Emery has to take responsibility for. For example, I look at the Palace game. I remember him playing Jenkinson up against Zaha and Mustafi and all of that. It was just a recipe for disaster. And it just turned out so badly. But yeah, to be honest, Emery's still a good manager. Hopefully he does well at Villarreal. But I have more confidence in Arteta long term, I think. But it's going to be a long, road, a painful road. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. But ultimately, we should stick to the manager. I like giving managers time. Obviously, if it comes to a point where, enough is enough, then fair enough. But I would want to give Arteta time. I would rather get rid of, most of the players, if anything. But that's just the way I look at it. This is the problem with today's football. The players become more important than the coach. Yep, exactly, Ibrahim. And also player power. Player power is such a big thing in football nowadays. And even look at Mourinho at Chelsea. The players can down tools and get you sacked pretty much. So it's unacceptable, really. But it's just how it is. They think about their careers, and if they just don't like the manager, they can do what they want. See my comment up. Yeah, okay, let's look. I was searching for FPL tips. I saw a stream with 120,000, but it turned out 120 only. But I do not regret it. You're the best. I subscribe. I wish you all the best. Yeah, 120,000. If there was 120,000 watching an FPL live stream, any FPL live stream, that would be incredible. And to be honest, I would probably not even be able to read one comment, because by the time I'm reading it, it's literally flicking through. But yeah. Dylan, how many years have you played FPL for? If it's more than a year or two, can you show us your record, please? I've only played really for a year. So I played it casually, let's say 2 seasons ago. But before that, I was on Sky Fantasy. But I literally only played with mates. I never really updated my team often, so I was really casual. But starting from last season, I started updating my team regularly. But I was still bad at the game, let's say first half of the season. Or, I made some good decisions here or there first half of the season, but I took a lot of hits. I was really, I was just doing things for fun. And obviously transfers are obviously the most fun part of the game. But then the second half, that's when obviously I was more patient. I was taking the game more seriously. I was being consistent. So really, I would say I've been playing since last season, really. That's when I've been playing like every single week, updating my team. Before that, I would literally captain Aguero for a few weeks and then forget I had him, and then obviously then change it. But yeah, that's just how it is. Let's see. You sound like someone that's played FPL for years. Yeah, no, definitely not. Or at least I'm definitely not someone who has done it. Thank you for that. But yeah, FPL experience is definitely going to get you a long way, because there's a lot of times where maybe people will jump on a bandwagon and you're kind of, a bit more, alert and aware, and you kind of know when to pull the trigger and when not to. But yeah, experience is definitely something I'm lacking, and I'm learning from this. I think this season, just like Arteta said in his press conference about, having 10 years of experience worth, in one, that's pretty much what I'm going through right now with FPL. These kind of, situations and planning that is required kind of prepares you and develops you as a manager overall. But ultimately, it's just a game, having a bit of fun with it. But hopefully it does go well. There's a lot of ups and downs. I don't know if some of you have seen my, defender curses or stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs here, trust me. Yeah, considering it's your first or second season, you're doing so well, I think you'll get a top 10k finish for sure. Thank you. I hope I can get close to that. So last season I finished 68k, and first few months I was 4 million. I always, tell this story, but it's literally, it just shows that you can make a big comeback. And 68k is a decent way, to wrap up pretty much your first season of playing consistently. But yeah, I'm just aiming for higher than that. So maybe top 50k, that would be my aim. But anything more than that is a bonus. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm really happy with my position. I've been going up and down recently, from 60k to 100 to 90 to 80 to 90. So very topsy-turvy season. A lot of bad calls on my end, a lot of bad luck at times, but then some good luck. It just comes around, and we just have to take it when it comes. But yeah, hopefully you do really well as well. How do you rate Man United's chance of winning the league? Okay, so I do think they have a chance, but ultimately I think it's between Liverpool and City. I just think, and I've said this maybe half an hour ago or something like that, I think United's defence is going to cost them, and it has already cost them a lot of games. Bruno is obviously carrying the team. They've got a good attack. Even the midfield's decent. Pogba's obviously now picking up some form. De Gea's looking back to his best, but the defence, I just don't like it. I don't like Maguire. Lindelof, pretty average. Bailly's good, but he's injury prone, and even then he can be very rash, like he was against Tottenham. The fullbacks, Wan-Bissaka's good defensively, but yeah, I don't know. I just think the defence is going to let United down, and maybe the lack of squad depth. An injury to Bruno Fernandes would be catastrophic, and there's definitely no chance of winning the league if that happens. But yeah, I think United will finish third, if not fourth. I could be wrong. They could still challenge for second, and I think they will be close to the top two. But ultimately, I think City and Liverpool will be top two. I think United will be third, and I think Spurs will probably finish fourth. That's what I think. And yeah, thinking about it now, I mean, I was asked where do I think Arsenal will finish, and I was talking so much about Arteta and Arsenal, all of that. I think with Arsenal, I think yeah, between 6th and 8th, I think. But you never know. Things are looking better now, so maybe 5th is on the cards or 4th. But then again, not much to celebrate. I would want to celebrate league titles, not finishing in the top 4, all of that. If we play the Twanzebe or Bailly, we will win the league. Different team with a fast centre back next to Maguire. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure though. I mean, I still don't like those defenders too much, and I think City are just looking so good. They're so consistent, and United are more, capable of bottling it or kind of, screwing up against the lesser teams than maybe City or Liverpool are. Liverpool have been very poor away from home, and the fact that they have so many injuries, I think that kind of, decreases their chances significantly. With United, they have a chance. There's no doubt about it. I just still think they're the third favourites, or they'll be third, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see how it ends. Who should I pick? Grealish and Calvert-Lewin versus Souček and Vardy. Well, Calvert-Lewin's injured, so I wouldn't go for him. If it was under normal circumstances, I'd go for the first duo. But because of what's happening now, with Grealish maybe missing out on Game Week 19, nothing confirmed there yet, with Calvert-Lewin being injured for another week or so, I would probably go for the second duo, Souček and Vardy, or Souček, however people pronounce it. Sheffield, Newcastle team lineups are out. Thank you for that. Yeah, let's have a look actually. Should we put it on here? Yeah, let's just put it on here. So Newcastle versus Sheffield. Let's see. Do Google have it? Yeah, they do. I mean, does anyone have any Sheffield players? Probably not. But Ramsdale, Egan, Basham, Ampadu, Bogle, Lundstrom, Norwood, Fleck, Osborne, McGoldrick, and Burke. Okay, so Burke is playing up front. Callum Wilson is playing. Yes, come on, Callum. Isaac Hayden, the former Arsenal boy. Longstaff, Hendrick, Fraser. Fraser's back. Okay. Yedlin is playing. He's on my bench. Fernandez, Cher, Clark, Dummett, and Darlow. Darlow's playing. There we go. I mean, I was saying it's a bit of a, Steve Bruce's comments don't help at all. I still backed Darlow to start, but I couldn't guarantee it. Well, he's starting here, so any of you who have Darlow will be buzzing. Better having that than 0 points. And yeah, the bench, I mean, some people were talking about Joe Linton. Oh yeah, someone had him, I'm pretty sure. Well, he's on the bench. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, Brewster's on the bench too. Yeah, I mean, it's more or less what you would expect. I'm a bit surprised with Fraser, I guess, but he has been fit recently. So it is what it is. So yeah, very interesting, very interesting. Thanks for that. I get so wrapped up in obviously all these comments that I obviously forget about the games. And to be honest, who's going to watch Sheffield versus Newcastle? I mean, maybe some of you, you want your players to do well. Fraser Wilson could be naughty. Yeah, it could be. You know what? Think about the Bournemouth duo, back in the day. A lot of assists and goals for each other. Maybe. All right, let's not get excited because it's Newcastle. Going for that double clean sheet. You got your Darlow. I also have Fernandez. Oh, fair enough. I mean, that's really risky, but could pay off. Who's in your team of the year, mate? Is this team of the year for football overall, for the Premier League? Or, yeah, I'm not sure. Because I've been asked about team of the season so far, and I've given one a few live streams ago. But yeah, I haven't done anything else. I'll watch hiding behind the sofa. Yeah, I mean, Newcastle, I mean, I still think they're a poor team. Who should I pick, Zaha or Neto? Neto, in my opinion. I think Neto's the better asset. That Palace game was the beginning of Emery's downfall. Still can't believe we bottled top 4. I was shocked. But the whole accent and good evening thing was massively disrespectful. I completely agree. And yeah, and you look at the Chelsea game, how that unfolded, and Emery's pedigree in the Europa League. You expected him to win that. Chelsea already had qualified for the top 4, so really Arsenal should have been the team, really up for it. And Chelsea were the ones who were like, you know what, doesn't matter too much. But it was the opposite, and Arsenal were just so bad in that game. But yeah, I think the Palace game was the beginning of his downfall. And to be honest, the first time I was really questioning him, because I like to give managers time, but the first time I really questioned him and thought maybe he's not the right guy was the Watford game the following season. Arsenal were 2-0 up, and we completely crumbled, and Watford had like 31 shots, which is like still to this day, a league record for them anyway in their history. And we ended up bottling it to 2-2. Now, of course, the players fucked it up as well. They're the ones on the pitch. But, yeah, I mean, that is when I really started questioning it. And then after the Leicester game, we lost 2-0, so many losses and draws in a row. I just thought, it's just not going to last, is it? But I felt really sorry for him. He was trying his best, and hard-working guy, obviously really talented, for him to win 3 Europa Leagues in a row, to manage PSG. It's, he's a good manager, but just didn't work at Arsenal. And yeah, it would have been great if he won the Europa League. I think that might have bought him a bit more time, but it just wasn't meant to be. Who should I pick, Smith Rowe or Saka? If you're looking to start either of these players most weeks, I would go for Saka. For FIFA on the EA Sports website. Oh, I haven't done that yet, actually. I might, do something like that very soon. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Who's your favourite team in Serie A? Very good question, Caspiano. You know what? This might sound a bit weird, but maybe Inter Milan, and that's probably because they have a lot of Argentinians in there, the likes of Zanetti and stuff like that. But then again, I do like AC Milan as well. I like all of them, really. I liked Roma for Totti, but probably Inter Milan would be my pick. Diego Milito as well. There's so many Argentinians who went there. But yeah, that's probably would be my pick. I don't really have a favourite. I like Napoli when Higuain was there as well. But yeah, really, Serie A is a decent league, I think, but I don't know. I think it used to be much better in the 90s and 2000. I don't know. But this season is looking really interesting. Last few years, kind of on and off. When Napoli were competing for the league, I liked that. But then apart from that, it's just really boring. But this year, it's looking much better. Thoughts on my double game week team. So McCarthy, De Gea, Soufal, Diaz, Cancelo, Wan-Bissaka, Tierney, Souček, Salah, De Bruyne captain, Fernandes vice captain, Saka, Antonio, Bamford, Adams. I like that. Antonio's a risk, obviously. I know he played 90 minutes, but he can always break down. I like that team though. It's very good. Just bearing in mind, if you're looking to bench boost, players like McCarthy, Adams could have no double game week because I don't know if you've seen the news. The Leeds versus Southampton fixture, it looks like it's going to be moved from game week 19 to, I don't know, maybe later on in the future, which should we say? I don't know exactly when, but it would be much later on. And that's in order to accommodate the Southampton versus Shrewsbury FA Cup tie, which was postponed due to a COVID outbreak at Shrewsbury. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that front. If Southampton are just given a free pass to the next round, then the Leeds Southampton game still goes ahead. But otherwise, it's just not looking good for those players. Callum Hudson-Odoi, one of the best youngsters in the league. I think he's talented, but I don't know about one of the best. So the way I see it, I might be biased, and you can grill me all you want. I think Martinelli, Greenwood, Saka, Foden are the four best in my opinion. I might be missing one or two others, to be fair, but I think those are the four best youngsters in the league. And feel free to correct me. But yeah, I can't believe Newcastle are playing a back five against the worst team in Premier League history. Well, I can, mate. I can, Glody, should I say? It's Newcastle with Steve Bruce. I'm not surprised. How long are you planning on streaming? To be honest, I don't mind. I have lost my voice a bit. I'm still going through questions. There's still nearly 100 of you, so I really appreciate it. But yeah, maybe for another 5-10 minutes or so, should we say, before wrapping up. But yeah, they usually play a back five anyway, I think. Yeah, that's true, Anthony. They pretty much always play a back five. If not, they'll play a back four. But yeah, they're such a defensive team, to be honest. I remember that Watford game, I saw the score was 2-0 at the 80th minute. Came back at full time and we drew. I also forgot how trash our defence was. Yeah, we conceded like 56 goals a season. Yeah, that was another problem with Emery, the defence. The attack was decent at times, but yeah, the defence was awful. And we conceded a lot of shots. And that's something with Arteta we have improved a lot on. And that's, signs of progress I was seeing even before we won the FA Cup, because people were just saying, oh, you're being defensive, all this stuff. Well, you know what? It's just being, a bit more cautious, knowing your limitations, your weaknesses, and, kind of covering them up with a new system. That's why I liked Arteta and the look of him. And hopefully he continues to do well. But of course, this season hasn't gone to plan in the Premier League. But hopefully he does pick it up and keeps on going. I took a -8 hit to get 10 players. Fair enough. I wouldn't have done it, but hopefully it worked out well for you. And hopefully I haven't destroyed my mic there. Give me a second. Yeah, okay, I think it's fine. Hey Dylan, might as well get your thoughts on my double game week 19 team now. Martinez, Dallas, Cancelo, Bednarek, Salah, Souček, KDB, Bruno, Rashford, Bamford, Vardy. Very weak bench. Will most likely captain KDB. Your bench might be bad, but that team looks very, very good, mate. I like that team. Obviously, with Martinez, maybe he won't play against Everton. That game could be postponed. But I would keep Martinez regardless. I like that team, yeah. Not really any weaknesses there, should we say. I like that team a lot. I captained De Bruyne and did not free hit with only 5 playing, hoping for a worse week, as like only 3 teams play. Bad choice or good one? To be honest, Pranav, I couldn't tell you for sure, because guess what? The points haven't come yet, but it depends on the quality of players. If you have De Bruyne, Bruno, Son, Kane, etc., then you're fine, It's about quality, not just quantity, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see if this ends up being a bad or good choice. Me free hitting might be a wrong choice. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, hopefully it isn't, but yeah. He needs more game time. Absolutely rules under 21 and underage teams. Yeah, I think so as well. Callum Hudson-Odoi is a talented player, and I remember in pre-season against Arsenal, he absolutely ripped Bellerin, but then again, a lot of players have. But yeah, Callum Hudson-Odoi is a good player. I really like him, and there's a reason why Bayern Munich wanted him. But yeah, I don't know. One of the best youngsters in the league. I don't know. I think he still has to prove that, but maybe I'm being a bit harsh. I don't know. I just think that the 4 youngsters I named are probably better, but Callum Hudson-Odoi is talented for sure, definitely. Martinelli, Saka are a joy to watch. Smith Rowe too, yeah. I mean, Smith Rowe, I wouldn't say he's one of the best youngsters in the league yet. He has to prove over more time, but he's got a lot of talent for sure. And he actually used to be a Chelsea Youth Academy player, I believe, but he got rejected by them or something like that. But he's at Arsenal now. He's doing really well. And hopefully he keeps on going. I wouldn't call him the Croydon De Bruyne and stuff like that, but yeah. Have you ever played footy for a team? Not really. You know, I played a lot, you know, when I was a kid, you know, for these various local teams and stuff like that. And, you know, I played a lot. But I never played for professional teams, you know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely not that. I am a Chelsea fan, but DY count as a youngster? Also think Tammy has potential if you see his last season, considering he has an ankle injury going into the end of this season. Tammy's decent, you know, he gets goals, but I wouldn't say he's one of the best youngsters in the league. You know what? Reece James, though, yep, he's one of the best youngsters in the league. I do rate that guy. Defensively is a bit suspect, but going forward and his technique is absolutely incredible. I really like him. Bruno captain over here too. Yeah, a lot of people are going for De Bruyne, but I've gone for Bruno. Let's see what happens. It's going to be really interesting, to be honest. I can't log in on Fantasy. Anyone has the same problem? Yeah, Sebastian, it always happens. The game updates. I'm only in it because I haven't refreshed. If I refresh it, yeah, it's just I'm going to obviously see the same thing as you. Are you with Pep's contract extension? I'm guessing you're talking about, yeah, Pep Guardiola. Well, I still think he's one of the best managers in the world and of all time. I think he does get a lot of, you know, stick, you know, compared to what he deserves. And when he does get things right, you know, people just say, oh, he's got a lot of money, whatever. Well, guess what, you know, a lot of managers spend a lot of money. Even Klopp has spent a lot. Obviously, nowhere near as much as Pep. But in order to get Van Dijk and Alisson, they had to fork out 150 million. But I really rate Pep Guardiola. And yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. The only thing I would say about Pep is that in Champions League, he has made some really bad decisions that has cost City, especially against Lyon last season, where they played I want to say a bad team, but they didn't play their full starting lineup. And I just think, why, mate? Like, just play your best team. But yeah, I mean, apart from the mistakes he's made in Champions League and a bit of bad luck, I do think he is the right guy for City, no doubt about it. And I still think, you know, as an overall coach, he's the best in the world. But obviously over the last year or so, you know, managers like Klopp have been better. But yeah, I really like Pep Guardiola. If Werner can't score, why not Tammy? Like, he will finish any of the chances Timo got? Yeah, potentially, to be honest. But then Giroud. I mean, Giroud is just so reliable for Chelsea at the moment. I would play him, to be honest. I owned Tierney before. It was cool. Yeah, it is cool. I don't own him permanently. I just have him for this free hit team. So, yeah, as soon as I refresh, you're going to see the same old boring players I had before. Was Gundogan a good shout over Saka? Excuse me. Fucking hell. Yeah, I think so. So I said Saka, but only because you can get more City players in other positions. But if you compare Gundogan and Saka individually, Gundogan offers far more goal threat and plays in a better team, plays in such an advanced role, has been doing really well recently. Yeah, I think it's still a good option. We'll have to wait and see who outscores, you know, each other. But yeah, I think they're both good options, and Gundogan individually is probably the better pick than Saka. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. He's a differential as well, and I think both will do well. Okay, I'm going to go now. Great stream, Dylan. Thanks for the feedback. Going to go and pray Wilson and Darlow don't punish me, but it's Newcastle, right? Yeah, exactly. And thank you for joining in, Mark. I really appreciate it. If not Arsenal, then which team in the EPL? No one. But you know what? If you put a gun to my head, say, watch another team in the Premier League, I'd probably watch Leeds because I just know there's going to be goals from either team. There and also Bielsa. You know, I've known him for a long time. Not personally, but yeah, I do like Leeds in terms of how they play. I don't like Leeds historically, you know. There is that tag dirty Leeds and stuff like that, and also I remember they cost us the title at one point when Man United won it on the final day and stuff like that. But in terms of a second team to watch, it would be Leeds, but I don't like another team per se. It's Arsenal or nothing from the Premier League, definitely. City, United, Liverpool, Spurs, Everton, Leicester, Chelsea, Southampton, Villa, all going to finish above Arsenal in that order. Thoughts on my top 10? It's wrong. I don't think Arsenal are going to finish below all those teams. I see why you say that, but I don't think Arsenal will finish above below all those teams. I think they'll finish above maybe Southampton, maybe Chelsea, Villa, Everton, maybe Leicester. I think Arsenal will finish 6th to 8th. I don't think they'll finish below the top 10. Don't want to get carried away, but I think with Partey coming back and Martinelli back for Newcastle, we can go on a good run and climb the table. Well, I'm not sure if there's been another press conference yet, but Martinelli, I mean, Arteta said it was looking bad. Obviously, they had the scan, which obviously they didn't reveal yet, but maybe news came out now as I've been streaming, and maybe Martinelli's fine. But he's such a big impact on the team, his energy, his mentality, and obviously his technique is really, really good. I really like Martinelli. I just hope he doesn't get injured often because he seems to be picking up all these injuries. He seems he's a strong guy, but he just seems very, fragile at times. So hopefully he keeps fit. Partey is one of the best midfielders in the world, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see how he, kind of settles in. Obviously, in the games he has played, he's been phenomenal. But we'll have to wait and see. Chilwell/Reece James for FPL. Well, Reece James was still injured, or he's still an injury doubt. I'll probably go for Chilwell, but I don't know. I'm not really feeling Chelsea defence. I've got Zuma myself, and I'm just not feeling it at the moment. Reece James' technique is exactly like Beckham in crossing. Do you agree? I want to say exactly like him, but I get what you mean. Like, his crossing is amazing. Like, I remember owning Reece James, and every time he crossed the ball, I was excited. And I know it's Chelsea, but just watching it as a neutral, I really liked it. But yeah, Reece James is a great player. I saw a team on Twitter with 3 Sheffield and 3 Newcastle defenders. I mean, if it turns out well for them, then they're going to be laughing. But at the moment, I think everyone's going to be laughing at that. But we'll have to wait and see. Good luck for Game Week 18, Dylan. Thank you, Mantra FPL. Really appreciate it. Thoughts on Foden? I really like Foden, but too inconsistent in my opinion in terms of, he's going to get some big hauls, then a lot of 1 or 2 pointers, maybe get benched. He's good for this game week, but long term, I'm still not really feeling it. And I prefer City double defense moving forward and maybe KDB. That's just my opinion on it. I used to own Gundogan before. You might know why. Yeah, I remember you talking about that, and I think it turned out pretty decent for you. Saka stats from right wing are much better. Yeah, and to be fair, Arsenal in general have been playing better, and Saka going on the right, Tierney on the left. There's a great, kind of chemistry there, and we've got more balance in attack because at the moment it seems like Arsenal, or before should I say, Arsenal would always attack from the left, and Tierney and Saka kind of try to do similar things. So having one on each side is great, and Smith Rowe in there to kind of connect everyone together. Against Newcastle, as soon as he came on, before there was no kind of chemistry in the attack, no one was linking up. As soon as he came on, that happened. As soon as Lacazette came on, that happened. And that's how the goal came about. So I think they have to both start, in my opinion. Isn't Martinelli out for 2 months? I read it somewhere. I'll be honest, I haven't seen any news yet. I've just been on the stream and answering all your questions about FPL. But I will take a look, actually, quickly. And have to wait and see. But yeah, hopefully Martinelli is back soon. He's a quality player. And would be great if he is here. So I'm trying to check here. Checking my Twitter now. Maybe if we check Arsenal's page. But yeah, I don't think it's been announced officially yet. So I would probably take things with a pinch of salt unless it's officially announced. But yeah, let's see. Jeez, there's so many tweets. Come on, man. Just load it. Let's see. Yeah, I've not seen anything right now. Yeah, just holding contract extension. Yeah, I just haven't seen anything yet. But I think he could be out for maybe a week or two. We're going to wrap him up in cotton wool, basically. I like Smith Rowe more. Is he nailed on? I think he is nailed on. I mean, it's his place to lose, but I do prefer Saka. And all the stats back, Saka up, and he's worth it. But if you really want Smith Rowe, then go for it, You don't have to ask me for that. Thoughts on Pepe? He isn't impressive at all when he plays. He's very hit and miss, so he's a really talented player. He's really good on the ball, but if we're being honest, a lot of his end product is poor. He's got great crossing, I will give him that, and to be honest, he should have gotten at least an assist or 2 against Newcastle, but his finishing, his decision-making is just not good enough, and he's definitely got enough, to be a starter for Arsenal, and in most teams, but he's just not showing his quality at the moment, but, at least he's showing something, unlike Willian. I think with Pepe, with the £72 million price tag, it kind of puts some unrealistic expectations on him. But to be honest, if you pay that much, you need consistency, and he just doesn't offer that, I'm afraid. But I wouldn't sell him. I would sell Willian, definitely, even now. I mean, too many chances have been given, and it looks like Arteta is going to keep on sticking by him, but it is what it is. But with Pepe, I think there is a player in there. But at the moment, I would start Saka on the right, Martinelli on the left, or Aubameyang, and Lacazette up front, Smith Rowe as an attacking midfielder. Just keep things as they are. But yeah, thank you everyone who's been joining in. Still 90 people. I mean, it's nearly been an hour since the deadline, and we've been streaming for pretty much over 2 hours. I really appreciate everyone who's been here, and if you haven't already, subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and smash the like button. And if there's any comments that I've missed, because I have missed a lot and I've tried to answer as many as I can, and I apologize for that, then yeah, just leave them down in the comment section below and I will get back to you. I will. And I'll try to give you detailed answers as I've been doing about FPL, about football, anything you want. But obviously this is an FPL channel. I will do obviously other type of content in future, like gaming and stuff like that. And obviously FPL, it kind of links into football anyway. That's why we've been talking about Arsenal and the Premier League and all of this type of stuff. But I really appreciate everyone who's joined in. And good luck for Game Week 18. And hopefully anyone who's played the free hit, it turns out well for you. And even for those of you who didn't play the free hit or activate your wildcard, all the very best of luck. And to be honest, now that the game is going to be updated, it's time to look at Game Week 19. And I will be uploading videos for that. I'll be streaming as well for Game Week 19, 1 hour before the deadline. So join me in for that. And thank you for joining. And I'll see you